What's up, beautiful people? Welcome to another episode of the Black Sheep Perspective. I can't tell you guys how excited I am about today's podcast for so many different reasons. As you guys can see, look at the shirt. It's ill. It's space age. There's a reason behind that, man. I just posted on my vlog series something about, it's called Are UFOs Real? You guys got to check that out. The reason I bring that up and I wore this shirt is because of the guest that I have today. I've been trying to get this young lady here for quite a while. She's literally such a sought-out person. She's been doing all kind of podcasts, political movements, involved in so much great shit that we just haven't been able to pull the trigger yet. Right. She's been on my Boys Caballos podcast. She's been on multiple podcasts that I've seen you doing via Zoom, so many other things. And I'm just honored to finally have her here. We're going to tackle so many topics. I'm going to bring up what those topics are. But Isabella, let's toast to you being here.
Cheers. I'm so glad that I finally made it. We've been trying to make this happen for some time.
Oh, man. I haven't drank on a podcast in a while.
Thank you for the introduction.
No, yes. No, there's so much more to say, man. I mean, there really is. You know, you're a very powerful influence, and in many different ways, and in a way that's very, unfortunately, to the majority of the world, not contradictory, controversial. And not typically accepted.
That's a good way of putting it.
You know, because it's not contradictory. That for sure is not contradictory. That's when one thing doesn't match the other. You don't do that. You match. You know. So, what I want to tell everybody is before we get into this podcast, and I'm not saying this like get ready for a shit show because it's not at all. But I want everybody to open up their minds, please, guys. I want all you guys to open up your minds. Isabella has been You had an account for 100 and what?
154,000 followers.
154,000. That was her first account. Yeah. Blackballed, okay? Yeah. Not just shadowban, just get the fuck out of here. Yeah, and we'll come back to that. Then you had a second one with?
Second one was 60,000.
Okay, same thing. Hey, get the fuck out of here. Why? Because we don't like the shit that you're saying. Why don't we like it? We're not going to tell you because we have that power. We're going to get back to that. Third account on the lower end of...
No, I had 3 accounts shut down the same day. Third one it was 150, 60, and 12,000. And then I've gotten shut down an additional 4 times aside from that. It's been a total of 6 accounts shut down.
Okay. So I can understand if you're over here, jamming fucking palm trees into your pussy and it's against the goddamn rules. But it's the complete opposite.
That actually gets a lot of views.
Yeah, you're right. You chose the wrong fucking career. You went the wrong route. Fuck. It's a damn shame. But anyways, the truth is that a lot of times, especially in today's culture, let's call it that, I don't want to call it cancel culture. I think that's a disgusting name. But there's a lot of decisions being made without us having any say-so.
Yeah, well, cancel culture is a real thing. It is a disgusting thing nonetheless, but it's a reality of the world that we live in right now. And yeah, I've very much been affected by cancel culture, not just by the cancel culture of individuals, right? So, my friends or people that you've known for a long time canceling you, but, big tech and big corporations canceling individuals who have any thought that's contradicted to what they hold.
And in essence, that's pretty much what you would say in a very light way. Because I know that, and again, I want everybody to prepare for this. We're going to try our best to spit some dope-ass shit that's on a little bit of the edge that you guys aren't used to. But we do have to do it, not politically correct, but I'm not trying to get demonetized. I don't want this video, banned.
We'll keep it PG, and I'll make sure to watch my words.
We need you guys to vibe with us. And if we G-code something, you got to understand what's going on. But the reason I tell you guys that, because I want to give her the strength and credibility that she deserves. I know the Isabellas of the world. And by the way, guys, follow her on Instagram. Red Pill Babe is her 5th account. Mm-hmm. Red Pill Babe 1776. Okay, she was Red Pill Babe 1. She was Red Pill Babe 2. Once again, all those bands and whatnot. So the reason I tell you guys to open up your mind is because a lot of times we only hear what we want to hear. If you're that type of person, just stop watching the podcast right now. I hope you appreciate a different one when you see, I don't know, tits and ass. I don't know.
I'm
I don't
not
know
going
what to
to
tell
be
you.
that cup of tea.
Yeah, you're not going to be that. And I don't want that cup of tea. You're here because I want you here, and I love what you're going to talk about. You teach me a lot. I've been down this road, but not to the extent that you have. And I do think it's not your duty, but I love when people like you make it your duty, like I want to inform the world. I am ready to face the backlash. I am ready to get demonetized at 155,000 followers, which we talked. And by the way, let me remind everybody, we had to have like a fucking, I was going to say 45 minutes. It was probably like an hour, 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think we were at it for almost 2 hours getting ready before we even, Not to mention, we've been prepping for this for like the last month, honestly.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's just this one. The first attempt, fell through because you again, you got caught up in different things. But, we were prepping because we want to make sure we cover the right amount of topics with the right amount of intensity, with the right amount of passion. I don't want to, I'm saying this with all due respect. I want to take the leash off her. But I'm like, we're here like at the dog park, like, oh, fuck, there goes my baby. Is she going to get along with everybody, Or is she just going to be like, let me tell y'all something, So, so this is why, we kind of talked about it so that, we want everybody out there to be receptive, at least to listen to what we want to talk about. And then when we started talking about all these topics, you and I, as we were prepping, I said, hey, I don't know how to like bring up like how to describe what it is that you do. Like I hate to, and I openly admit this to everybody listening and watching. I said, I'm not going to call you a conspirator. That's some fuck shit.
Conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, and you were like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, well, it's okay, but people connect that negatively, and I want them to be more open. What can we, anyhow, we talked about all the topics that we're going to try to discuss within this time frame.
But I mean, that's important, right? The idea of
conspiracy
theorists, because that is, so I like to think of myself as a thought provoker. I'm going to put out information on there that I
You got to get a t-shirt with that. Yo, get a lawyer and lock that shit right now before somebody does it.
That's what I do. I'm a digital thought provoker. I go out there and I just present truths that are out there. I try not to be outlandish, but I try to expand your mind a little bit with facts and, historical truths of things that have happened. And,
beautifully said. Love it. Love it.
Bring it together down to just have you question your reality to some extent and, question what's real or what's not. So I am a digital thought provoker. I'm also a political advocate, activist, I guess you can say. I'm very locally involved, and there's reasons for that I know we're going to get into in the podcast.
Yes, I know before we end the podcast, we're going to tell everybody about what you're doing.
Conspiracy theorist is it's a term that I'm a conspiracy realist, and it's a good year to be a conspiracy theorist. A lot of the things that conspiracy theorists have been talking about for the last, 10, 15, 20 years are all starting to come true. And people that were called crazy and outlandish and radical or extreme for believing certain things are now being validated by watching this very extreme reality that we're all experiencing right now.
That's perfectly said. And I really mean that. And I hope that you guys listening and watching, like, you feel the same. She's not putting on an act right now. God, the last thing I want is a fucking act. I might have told her, hey, just tone it down. Let's not go too deep into this.
No, we're going deep.
but we did have a couple of drinks and got hyped up earlier. But no, I do want the realness to come out of you. I'm just trying our best as a team to get these people to just.
I want to be mindful to the fact that your audience maybe doesn't know me, and people that have followed me for a long time, and we've done some deep diving together, gone down some really deep rabbit holes. Yeah. But this is what I do. My thought is to really what drives me is to go out there and really get people to question it. But I always treat everything that I ever post on my page is done so from a perspective where I'm expecting that it's the first time you've seen my content. Right? Is it something that will drive you to want to continue to dig further? I don't ask anybody to take my word for anything. I'm here to present questions, ideas to you that then you can go out there and, reconsolidate on your own and go out there and do research and be like, what is, this crazy chick that was on the Black Sheep podcast? Maybe she was onto something.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Every time, maybe not every time, but I think almost every time you post something, you have this little saying at the end, which is like, hey, I'm not trying to, like, almost like what you just said, right? Are you still doing that all the time?
I mean, I don't, not with this new page, but it's something that I did.
Oh, that's why. Okay.
I did it for a very long time, which was that I'm not here to steer your mind. I'm not here to tell you what reality is. I'm just kind of here to challenge,
Right.
you know, the things that you perceive to know 100% to be true. And, you know, I think that when you get into the habit of questioning reality, you'll start noticing that there's a lot of things that maybe are up for question, or that,
Without
you
a
know,
doubt.
leave a lot of room for interpretation. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that it's okay to have questions and get answers, and not to be a docile, you know, sheep. I hate calling people sheep, but it's the reality, where you're fed a narrative by either, you know, a big corporation or
Right.
a media company or
Right.
Hollywood or sports or whatever it may be, and you're not really challenging that on your own through your own research and your own thought process.
So as we get into that, because I want to ask you why you think people don't do that. Why do you think is it a complacency? Is it a weird fear factor? Is it they're too entertained by all the dumb shit that's out there, from the TikTok to the this to the that? Or is it deep? I mean, I know it's way more deeply rooted, and we're gonna get into those details, but why don't people like to challenge and question? I feel like it's laziness, Issa. I feel like that's the main basis.
Well, yes, absolutely. I agree. I think it is.
I want it now. I want it quick. I want it in fucking 2 minutes.
We are living in a very kind of like instant type of society where
Exactly.
you want like instant gratification. But I also think that we've been distracted for a very long time. So let's go back with how we opened up, right? Which is that nobody knows how to introduce me. What is she? She's a conspiracy theorist, right? It's like, oh God.
Oh my God, you can make money off that voice, bro. What the fuck? Welcome.
So it's like, so she's a conspiracy theorist, and it's like, all right, well, let's go back to when that term was created. So let's start off with the fact that the term conspiracy theorist is, you know, I don't like to state anything that I know as an ultimate truth. I want people to go out there and do their own diligent research.
Excellent.
But the idea is that the term conspiracy theorist ends up popping up around the same timeline where conspiracies start being a thing. What's the first conspiracy that we actually know about? Or at least where the first conspiracy where people that believed in that started being labeled conspiracy theorist. Okay. And that is the death of JFK.
Oh my God, I swear to God, we haven't talked about this. And the minute you said that, I thought, JFK, I think is when it became popular. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So let's talk about JFK
Who did
for
it?
a
The
minute.
Cubans,
Who
the
did
Russians,
it? Was there a
Marilyn
second
Monroe.
gunman in the grassy knoll?
Yeah.
Was there not? So let's start off with a very obvious fact that we know, which is that they lost our president's brain. So our president gets shot live in front of a ton of people, and then they lose his brain for the autopsy. Our president's brain, they lose it.
I didn't even know this.
Oh, yeah, this is
I
a true
feel really
fact.
dumb right now.
So they lose our president's brain, still lost until this day, and they feed us all this like narrative or BS. And then people started having questions naturally. It's like, what do you mean you lost our president's brain? What the hell does that mean?
Right. Oh, we left it in the fucking under the seat.
Who knows? They're not in a freezer somewhere. Who knows? A cooler, the igloo cooler. But that's where the term starts coming up, that anybody that questioned the narrative of what it was that had happened in Dallas that night or that morning
Was conspiring.
Was a conspiracy theorist. Like, what do you think, the government's out to get you guys? You think that there's this big ploy to take over the world? And immediately the CIA creates the label conspiracy theorist as a way of discrediting individuals that were questioning the reality that was being fed to them. And like you said, it's like, I don't want to introduce you as a conspiracy theorist because it's a negative connotation. It's only a negative connotation because that's exactly how it's been framed
on
by
purpose.
The CIA,
exactly.
With the media and historical or whatever it may be, where, you know, conspiracy theorists, let's break down the term in general, right? Conspiracy, which is the idea that there's a bigger ploy than one that you understand, a big group of people that are getting together to put something, you know, a plan together.
Right. Okay.
And then a theory, which is, that's how most scientific equations start with a theory, and then you've got to prove it correct or incorrect, right? So the term conspiracy theory, just in general, isn't a negative term. It's a person that believes in the possibility that there is a bigger plan or whatnot to reach some kind of outcome that's maybe against the collective or that isn't productive to the collective or whatnot. And it's just a theory. So prove me wrong. I think that the biggest problem that we've had since the creation of the term conspiracy theorist is that it is an open invitation. Like if we're looking at it like any other scientific equation, it's like prove me wrong. But from the minute that you coined the term conspiracy theorist, it's like they're automatically wrong without ever giving it the opportunity of like prove this person actually wrong, as opposed to just saying that they're wrong and discrediting them by calling them crazy or outlandish or radical or whatever it may be.
And as we got into that, and we literally talked about that and a little bit more, and I was like, okay, well, cool. So how is it that we can approach this? Because I want to make sure, and I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart, like, I think you're fucking awesome, but I got to think about, the fans. I got to think about the viewers. And I'm not saying that they can't keep up with this, but I just want to make sure that they're engaged and they hear you out. So I was like, how can we? And then you stopped me in my tracks.
I'm here to blow people's minds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you stopped me in my tracks and you said, you know what, Wes? I really want to approach this in a different way. I want to umbrella under the fact that I just want to expose the globalists, the globalism. Correct. Or the globalists?
It's a combination of both. Globalism is the idea. Globalists are the players that are involved.
So when you said that, I thought, okay, wow. And you're like, I don't want to insult you, but do you know what globalists are? And I'm like, kind of, sort of. Yes, I really do believe I do, but definitely would love to hear your take on this. So let's start from there.
Let's start from the basics, right? Which is, do you understand? Do most people, and I mean your viewership, right? Do most people understand what globalists are or what globalism is? So we live in South Florida. It's no big secret. We have a very big population of immigrants from communist countries, whether that be Cuba or Venezuela or Nicaragua. We've got a lot of individuals that have escaped some form of communism and come over to South Florida. So when we describe communism as the ultimate power to the government, right? The government is basically making every decision known possible for you, therefore controlling you.
That is typically the best rough definition for communism.
Rough definition.
For those who don't know the technicality behind it.
The rough definition, you're giving ultimate power to the government.
You can't challenge it. If you do, you're facing serious repercussions.
But then there's also complete dependency on the government,
as
right?
well.
So the government is paying for your bills. Everybody gets paid the same thing. Everybody's equal, right? Because the government's giving you where you live at, what you eat or whatnot, which usually, historically, every single time just means equally miserable. Globalism is a step up from that, where communism, as we've known it, has always been the takeover of a nation. The globalist, point of view is that it's a global takeover. It's about global communism. It's about turning every single last one of us into a slave of some form. People think slaves and they think, cotton fields, or they think, old Egyptians been building temples or whatnot. But there is there's different levels of enslavement.
Slavery, yeah.
And I think that where we're at right now is an enslavement to consumerism. Whether it's, you're after the latest iPhone, or you want the newest sneakers, the newest Yeezys, or whatever it may be. What it's done is that it's created a culture where we're enslaved to consumerism. They're always got the elite, the powerful, or the companies, the corporations are always going to make money off of us because we're enslaved willingly to a consumer type system that's set up to keep us chasing the latest fad or
and when trends. You say willingly, is it willingly unknowingly?
I think that there's a lot of I think that there's a lot of brainwashing that's involved. I think that we've been programmed to some extent to live in a culture that glorifies, do you have the latest sneakers or the newest iPhone or whatever it may be. We live in a society that glorifies that. All you got to do is look at a TikTok or an Instagram, popular reel and see that comes up. The keeping up with the Joneses is a very big deal of our society. And I think that keeping up with the Joneses type of reality that we've lived in for the last couple of decades has created the perfect breeding ground for consumerism to become a way of enslavement.
So obviously you're talking right now in present day time. Let's go historically. So before we get into this, I want people to understand, obviously I'm not her fucking professor and I haven't, done a resume check and all that, but I know Isabella. I met her through El Caballo. Make sure y'all show love and go follow my boy.
Who I've known since I was 14 years old.
Yeah, so by the way.
The credibility goes deep here.
High school friends over here. They're super
Middle
school. They're super tight. He had her on her podcast, Straight from the Horse's Mouth. So again, go follow my boy. But we've spoken already about this. We've already had a couple of drinks. We already went to dinner once, and I think one time with Caballo, just randomly, whatever. So we've gone back and forth with these conversations. I want to let you guys know that this chick,
and they should know that you're a rough, like, you're big on the opposition for the sake of argument, not because you are like I think that you're just an inquisitive person who always wants to look at, okay, so what about this situation or what about that scenario, which I think it's cool because I'm always down for that because it gives me a chance to elaborate, why I think the way that I do, which makes it harder for my views to be written off as just another crazy
and it's also, and I'm glad you said that. I take that as a compliment. One, I want to make sure that you really know what the fuck you're talking about.
Right.
Especially if you're an MMA guy and you're like, hey man, I got this awesome combo, this and that. Really? Let me see it. Right. I do MMA. I want to see that combo. What is this awesome combo? How realistic is it? Because I do MMA. If you tell me you know something that I can vibe with because I been down that rabbit hole, studied that, whatever it is, read that book, then I want to make sure you're credible. Okay, so you're credible. Boom. But then you go super extra, and I'm like, oh, this girl really knows
her shit.
And then you keep going. I'm like, oh, she's one of those. Like, I was almost down. And this is why I said, and by the way, guys, she didn't even know. I make sure you go check out the Go Ahead and Ask vlog that I just put up about Are UFOs Real? I gave her a shout out. She hasn't had the chance to watch it yet. I just put it out this morning. She hasn't had a chance to watch it. She had a very busy day. This is why we started late today. But I told her, I gave you a shout out, and I told everybody, this girl doesn't just go down the rabbit hole. She digs fucking tunnels under there. And I mean that, but that's a compliment because here's the problem with those who don't want to entertain this, those who already stopped watching, who are not listening anymore, those who completely combat you in some shape or form out of emotion. You guys haven't put in the work. It doesn't mean that she's 100% correct. This is without a doubt true. At least not yet. But you guys haven't put in the work that she has.
I love that you said that.
She has stayed up late nights, on her off days done this, not gone out with the girls because she was too intertwined with this. She is almost literally obsessed with it.
Yeah.
And it comes out of her almost in some weird Wonder Woman type way of like, I got to tell the fucking world. You're too lazy to go look for it yourself, so I'll tell you. I looked for it, and this is what's really going on.
So I love that you described it just like that, right? Because that's exactly the reality that I live in. So I'm a second generational truther. Sorry. My dad was very big into conspiracy theories. Maybe not the same rabbit holes that I was down on, but he was down some, pretty big rabbit holes himself, including the alien rabbit hole. He believes.
Okay, I didn't know that. We didn't talk about that. Okay.
Super deep. My dad is super deep into the alien conspiracy theory. So I'm almost like a second generational truther, if you will. My first rabbit hole, which I talk about often, was in 2007. I came across a documentary by the name of Loose Change. And
ooh, I remember.
Have you watched Loose Change?
9/11 shit.
Loose Change is basically,
man, that was good.
Breaks down 9/11 and I
thought 9/11 Fahrenheit was good. Loose Change was
even better. So Loose Change hit on the internet. Yes. It was one of those things where you had to track it down. It would be on one side for a while, then they would take it down. So when I watched Loose Change, which basically just exposes that 9/11 was, an inside job, and it wasn't as cut and dry as we believed that it was. Oh, Osama bin Laden was the one that planned it. It's just not as cut and dry as the reality that we had been fed. So in 2007, I watched Loose Change, and that was one of my first red pills. And it was one of those things where I automatically thought, oh my God, it's all the Republicans' fault. These people are terrible. So I blamed it on the Bush. I blamed it on the Cheneys. That was what my automatic thought process was.
Interesting.
And then I had always, because of my family history, my family has always been very involved in politics. My grandmother was a political prisoner in Cuba for being anti-castrista. My grandfather also was. So I come from a long line of revolutionary fighters. Aside from the conspiracy theorist part, I come from a very long line of revolutionaries, if you will.
It's pretty dope, man. That's just in your blood.
Listen,
my carry that torch, baby.
We need an entire podcast just to talk about what a badass my grandmother was.
Okay, but I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Because of that history, in 2008, Obama comes into the scene. Barack Obama comes into the scene. The campaign of hope, of opportunity and equality. It was just, in my early 20s, it was the first presidency that I was able to vote in. And I was like, I'm going to campaign hard for this guy. And I campaigned hard for Barack Obama. I knocked on doors. I made
First time
phone calls,
campaigning like that.
First time campaigning, but I was all about the Hope campaign.
Okay.
So 2008, Barack Obama gets elected. I was so pleased. We did our job. And then, 2012 comes along, and you really don't realize, it's like, well, I had a lot of hopes about all this hope.
Right.
And, things that were supposed to happen, and they didn't, but then they
still hoping over here.
Right. Well, he only had 4 years. He needs another 4 years. So you're like, okay, I guess we'll push for another 4 years. So I also campaigned hard for Barack Obama in 2012. I had a very close friend at the time that was her family was very heavily involved with Barack Obama's campaign, had even been, invited to the inauguration balls both times. So they were very involved. And because of her family, I was also very, very heavily involved. So it wasn't just I supported Barack Obama, like I was involved in the campaigns. And then Barack Obama got inaugurated at some point in January of 2013, I want to say. And then a couple of months after that was the first time that I saw a video talking about the FEMA camps. And I don't know if you've ever seen that, but there is FEMA camps that are set up all over our country. And in these camps, there are millions of caskets. Each casket can hold about 2 to 4 people in each casket. And these videos started popping up all over the internet. And I was like, what the fuck is this? So then that starts leading me down that research rabbit hole. And then that leads me into the Illuminati, which then, like every other human being out there, I liked celebrities and I liked the gossip and La Farandula, I was like, Star Magazine. And then that led me down the celebrities and things like these people are involved in like Illuminati type things, right? Which is what people call it. I don't really care what you call it, whether you call it Illuminati, the globalists. It's all the same shit at the end of the day, which is a group of powerful individuals with the right resources, with a willingness and a desire to control the majority. And that was the beginning of the rabbit hole. And 15 years ago, I thought that this was all going to be useless knowledge that I had, because you couldn't talk about this stuff with anybody else, right? If this stuff, if you went to work and you told people, hey, there's a globalist cabal trying to take over the world, you were going to be, sent to a loony bin and you're a lunatic and what you're saying is completely outlandish. So that was really what led me down the rabbit hole. So then for 15 years before, things start going mainstream, is how I end up starting to go down these rabbit holes, collecting all this what have otherwise been useless knowledge, but actually ends up being very useful in the times that we're living in.
What's going on, beautiful world? Thank you once again for tuning in. I just wanted to cut in really quick and tell you guys, man, I really appreciate all the love and support. This is season 3. We're several podcasts in. We got so many more coming. There's a lot of things that's coming that's brand new, from the Go Ahead and Ask vlog series to a bunch of merchandise and to even a new podcast series that's coming out in the future. Look out for it in the summer. But for now, guys, we couldn't have even made it this far if it wasn't for all of you guys. Thank you for the love and support. Appreciate it. Let's get back to the podcast. All right, so, we literally talked for like an hour and a half before this, and I didn't even know that. So this is what the seed was that dropped. A little bit of the whole Obama thing, and then going into Loose Change, and then everything else that followed.
I spent 15 years going down that rabbit hole, collecting what I thought was useless knowledge. And then in 2018, I got red pilled, you can say, which is where I always thought like Donald Trump was such a douchebag. Like, this guy's arrogant. This guy's awful. Like, who would vote for this dude? Like, I would never want to hang out with this dude. That was my thought process. Like, I would never want to hang out with this guy. And then I had a friend tell me, you know way too much and you're way too smart to think that way. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? And then I went down the rabbit hole and I started challenging some of the things that the media had told me, that he was arrogant, that he was a racist, that he was a xenophobe, that he was whatever you want to call him. They've got so many names for him. And then I started realizing that the media lied a lot. And I mean, a bigger.
It's funny because I was just about to politely try to cut you off and be like, but you realize that was the media who led you into that.
Oh, right? Absolutely. But then that was where I knew that the media lied, and I knew that they had the ability to build a narrative. I just didn't realize how far it went until I completely started challenging it, where I said, like, I don't believe anything the media says. Nothing. I'm going to challenge every single thing the media says. And the more I challenged, the more I realized that, I was absolutely right in my my original thought process. The media cannot be trusted by any means. It's like we talked about this briefly before we even went live, which is that I believe we're stepping into times where the more that we find out how much is a lie, how much the media hides from us, how much Hollywood does to confuse us, how they use sports figures or political figures and things of that nature to sway our way of mind, the more dependent we are forced to become on our own intuition and our own compass of what's right and what's wrong.
So who would you label these globalists as, and where do you think it started from? I mean, we don't have to give everybody the finest details, but where did this globalism start? So you're saying there's a united group in some shape or form who united their powers. They were powerful people at some time, and they all decided what? We want to run this whole fucking thing.
We want to run the whole thing. We want to run the entire thing and have it work in our favor. And these are families that have been around for a very long time. So people think like the elite, the powerful, and you're like the Forbes 100 top 100 richest people. So these people are around such old money, so powerful, so rich. You've never heard of them. You're not going to hear about them unless you hear, some lunatic like me talking about them. You're not going to hear about them. So when you do research like the Committee of 300, the Bilderberg Group, these are all groups of...
Keep dropping those names.
Elitist, high-level families with very old money and a lot of power. The Soros family, the Rothschild family, the Rockefellers, there's a series of bloodlines that have been around for a very long time and have controlled things for a very long time. When you created the steel industry, when you created the banking industry, JP Morgan, like these are all names.
You just named three of the biggest worldwide
that people know, right? And there's a whole lot. I'm talking about the Committee of 300 is another 297 names that you guys have never heard of before, right?
So let me intervene real quick. I used to talk about this exact topic that you're talking about, everything you just said, and then something. And I know you're going to do it right now, and I want everybody to hear out of your voice. I used to tell people from a medical standpoint, from a psychological standpoint, addiction, forget everything we just said, medical, psychological, that's what we're on right now. Mm-hmm. Addiction is a real thing.
Absolutely.
Okay? Addiction is a real thing in just the most ridiculous ways. Drug addiction, alcohol addiction, sexual addictions. Porn, porn being part of the sexual addictions. Or just, no, you're a fucking nympho. Like, you're literally a nympho who needs to climax.
Well, just addiction in general is...
every bit of whatever it is. Then you have the weird addictions, from the OCD people.
There's people who are addicted to eating aluminum foil, so it really goes in.
There's levels to it. So,
right.
What would make, and I used to bring this up as to calm them down, as to oh my God, that's just such a hard pill to swallow. I just can't see some full world planetary thing. And I tell them, hold up, what's the difference between a power addiction? A power addiction is just the same. We try to tone it down and say some real bullshit like, oh, there goes two guys with a pissing contest. Look at those two dudes puffing their chest out. Amplify that. Upscale it. Go from fucking a little rinky-dink burger place to McDonald's Corporation. It's the same concept. Upscale it.
That's actually a perfect way of describing it. It's an addiction to power.
If you have the top 100 people addicted to power, just, hey, we all look at each other from across our balconies like, all right, there goes 55. Oh, look, there's 72. There goes number 10.
You know what it is? You have to wrap your mind around people being evil and being driven by things that the regular individual isn't driven by, right? So if you're a good human, functioning human being, it's really difficult to imagine the concept of being addicted to power, of wanting to enslave other people, to humiliate other people, to...
But my thing is this, is rather than say that, and maybe, and I'm saying this humbly, maybe you lose, and I don't know how often you say what you just said, but maybe you lose certain followers or certain people who were following you and they were okay with it until you say that. Because unfortunately, if this is the facts, if I give it to you and say it the wrong way, here's the facts, motherfucker, you're not going to want to even read it and hear it and take it in. But if I say, hey, listen, a lot of research went into this. We're talking about over 10 years of research with the 10 top scientists of the world, whatever. Now you're going to be like, okay. So it sucks that you have to dumb it down. But I guess what I'm saying is, I try to tell people this comparison so I can not dumb them down, but so I can just put the ego away and be like, listen, if you realize that the same way how the hell can a son make his mom broke, steal his mom's fucking life savings to go smoke crack with some hooker?
Like,
it's not a bad, it's not a... That was not why I did that. That was not, oh my God. You totally entrapped me right now. I did not do that on purpose, but that is funny that you saw that. See, that's why your ass is sharp with this shit. No, I really meant it. It's very hard for somebody to be like, how could their son do that to a mother? Because mom is number two. That crack is number one. So if you have an addiction,
power is crack.
And if these powerful people are looking at each other like, yo, everybody else is so lame. Like, I can fucking destroy that country if I want to. There's nothing I can't buy. Like, you got real Indians who are making shirts out of gold. Like, they're like everything gold. It must weigh like 30 pounds just to wear it. And it's just a pissing contest. So upscale that to power, and this seems totally realistic.
Yeah, people are addicted to power.
Hey, what can we do? We already run everything else. What else can we do?
How do we continue? So we run everything. We've got all the money in the world. Now it's a matter of how do we secure ourselves this position for the rest of eternity, and
pass it on to our seedlings as well.
That's through the enslavement of the collective, right? Have you ever heard of the Georgia Guidestones before? I'm catching you off guard right now because we haven't even started talking about this. I haven't. All right, so the Georgia Guidestones.
Somebody look that up.
The Georgia Guidestones are almost, think about it like the 10 Commandment stones when the first 10 Commandments are found written in stone. So in Georgia, rural Georgia somewhere, there is a piece that's commissioned to be brought up in the middle of rural Georgia somewhere off a highway. And it's these tablets. Okay. And the tablets have like the 10 Commandments of the New World Order. And it talks about a one world religion, a one world currency, keeping the population under 500 million. 500 million.
And we're at what billion?
Just in the United States alone, we're at several billion. So consider what that means to bring the population down to 500 million, which then opens up the topic for the fact that these individuals have been talking about world domination for over 100 years. You can go back and you can look at this. People have been calling people that believe in the Illuminati conspiracy theories for such a long time. The Masons are real. The Illuminati is real. There is a group of individuals that do want complete control because, as you very mentioned, it's just human nature. There's going to be people out there who are going to be addicted to power. And these individuals have a 100-year plan to take over the world and to take over America.
So watch this now, right? On this alien tip that I was talking about earlier, okay? And I know you.
Oh, I keep up. I know what's up.
We were talking about that earlier. I had mentioned on the Go Ahead and Ask clip that I just posted, that I know you're going to watch when we leave because I get that shout out. I talked about this guy. Fuck, I can't even say his name now. But he was the Canadian Minister of National Defense. Okay. Canadian Minister of National Defense. The guy was up there in rankings for a long time. Hawaii, whatever. Fast forward, he whistleblows, whatever you want to call it. And he starts talking about, hey, I know what I eventually found out, witnessed, verified, whatever, all that riffraff. And says that I think that the whole world should know, especially our Canadian people and even our brethren, the Americans. Everybody needs to know that we are 100% in contact with aliens. So he starts breaking down that there was different races. And then anyhow, I'm not going deep into the alien tip right now, but as he explains all this, because this is why I'm coming back to you, as he explained, and I encourage everybody, I'm going to leave the link on the description below, so make sure you guys go follow it. A couple of the interviews, you can follow the dude's name. Can't remember his name right now. He ends up mentioning, after the alien talk, that the aliens were kind of coinciding and negotiating with the elitists of the world. So it went from, he was just trying to expose
Are you sure you want to go down this conversation? Because we didn't pre-plan this rabbit hole.
A lot of this is happening on the fly right now. We're over here like, yo, let's calm down. Let's not go too crazy.
You're like, we're not going to get a little crazy. And now you're going right into the reptilian subject. And I don't know
no,
how to get away from this right now.
Wait a minute. Nobody leaves yet. Hold on.
I'm kidding.
We'll do that on another podcast. We got to wait till this shit intensifies, and then we'll talk about the reptilians. Mm-hmm. No, but truth be spoken, the guy ended up mentioning the whole thing was an alien talk. He wanted to expose that we are in contact with Martians. But eventually he mentioned how you say Lindenberg?
So let me just...
He mentioned the elitists, and he said that the elitists who are trying to make this a new world order are the ones who are trying to talk to the aliens and say, hey, work with us, and we're going to get this thing situated.
I believe that there is... I agree and disagree to some extent. I believe that I do believe in aliens. I believe that there's several different alien species. You and I slightly talked about the Galactic Federation, which I know that some people don't necessarily believe in. But hey, listen,
Guardians of the Galaxy,
It's okay. It's okay. I do believe in Guardians of the Galaxies. I do believe in that.
Next podcast, he's going to be all blue and shit.
Here's the thing. Right? We can talk about this till we're blue in the face, but here's the thing. The United States military has had proof of aliens, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, since the 1920s.
Yeah.
There is a very strategic reason as to why this is making mainstream news right now. So
Elaborate.
thing, well...
getting us ready.
We can talk again. There's just a lot of things to distract from, right? Because I believe that there is, for example, the election fraud. I think that that's something that's going to be a really big, and anything that they can do to take away attention for what it is it's going on in Maricopa County right now, they're going to do, as well as across other states. And it's a time where globalists, elitists, whatever you want to call them, are being exposed right now, and they're in the mainstream news. There's a reason why people like Bill Gates, who has openly been talking about population control and minimizing the population. I need you to wrap your mind around that for a second. Publicly saying minimizing the population. What does that mean? It means making people infertile. It means eugenics.
That's a nice way of saying it.
It means eugenics. It means deciding who gets an opportunity to live or who doesn't. It means killing off some people if you have to.
Right.
That's legitimately what lowering the population was. And this is a man that has, for the last 20 years, openly been talking about eugenics. In fact, Bill Gates' father, was also a historical eugenics. Bill Gates' father, along with a singer, who is the creator of Planned Parenthood, were both very open eugenics, which believed in the same things Hitler believed in.
You said that word a few times, just so that I can speak for others. I'm asking for a friend. The fuck does eugenics mean?
Eugenics is the idea that we can create a supreme race, that there are certain things. So if you don't believe that people with disabilities should leave, or people with from a certain race or a certain demographic should live, and that only, Hitler believed in an Aryan race where only white people with, light eyes should have an opportunity to create that race. It's that's what eugenics is, getting rid of one entire group or demographic of people to push other because you believe that is a superior group of individuals, right? And Bill Gates' father was very involved with the initiation of Planned Parenthood, which for most people that are not aware, Planned Parenthood was created by a racist eugenics who believed that the black race should be completely exterminated. Margaret Sanger was an open racist eugenics who believed that the black race should be exterminated and created.
Margaret Sanger was the one who
the creator of Planned Parenthood.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm thinking something else. Okay.
She's a creator of Planned Parenthood, and she created Planned Parenthood specifically to exterminate, her word, not mine, exterminate the black race. And, there's when you can call it a conspiracy theory until you end up looking for Planned Parenthood on Google, and you're only going to see a Planned Parenthood inside the neighborhoods of either Black or Latinos individuals that belong to minorities.
So you think that that's part of what that migrated into our country from others?
Yeah, no, I totally believe that eugenics is a part of something that we deal with. The elitists believe in lowering the population and having complete control. In order to have complete control, the lesser of us that there are.
So are they rattled right now, or are they exposed right now?
Oh, they're exposed right now.
So this is the most they've been exposed in a while.
The most, that's actually the perfect way to describe it.
Okay.
They've been the most exposed than they've ever been in their entire life. Like I said earlier today, 15 years ago, you talked about these things
like a wild
and you were a lunatic. And it's what allowed them to operate in the shadows for such a long time, because you weren't allowed to question them and you weren't talking, and people didn't know the name Soros or the name Rockefellers or Rothschilds, at least in connection to conspiracies of like global domination, right? And for the first time ever, they're exposed. And I mean, let's not just stop at the globalists. Let's talk about like regular names like Hillary Clinton. Let's talk about the fact that Hillary Clinton has to turn off the comments on her social media page because individuals are like, your husband's a pedophile. And I mean, a couple of years ago, you would have called Bill Clinton, former president of the United States, a pedophile, and people would have talked to you like you were crazy. Right. But now we know that Jeffrey Epstein was a real person. He was the most prolific pedophile in the history of our existence. And Bill Clinton used to spend every other weekend.
If I'm not mistaken, 27 flights?
26 flights 26. Into the island, but that doesn't count his visits to the ranch, which were a lot more sporadic. Which were a lot more frequent, and or his visits to the New York condo, which were also very frequent. So it's not just the island. Let's be very clear. That island was only known for one thing. And you went over there to be a degenerate. You went over there to do drugs or to have sex with minors or whatever it is. Everything went in that island. So there's one thing to be a degenerate that hung out with Jeffrey Epstein on the island. But make no mistake, it wasn't any less controversial to be a degenerate that was hanging out with him in his ranch in Arizona.
Of course. I mean, somebody doing that type of sick shit
his condo in New York
needs it and wants it all the time.
Correct.
I like the weird hate, love, whatever. I like to talk about that. I guess to blow some steam off and if possible, try to inform somebody. But the truth is that I hate talking about it because it disgusts me.
About pedophiles? Or?
Well, no, not just pedophiles. We've already talked about that. When we first met, that was the big topic with the whole movement we were trying to do. But to be doing what Epstein did and with the people that he did, and to basically get away with it because no one's being exposed. Now, homegirl, whoever his mistress, whatever sidekick is.
Same Maxwell, right?
She went down. Everybody's like, okay, what's going to happen? And then all of a sudden, no one's hearing shit. But all of a sudden now, all these fucking sting operations are going on.
They're going on, man.
So is she snitching? But look, I told everybody
she's
this.
Snitching, bro.
We
know street code. You know how much snitching.
Of course, everybody snitches. But I'm saying this, though. I think that the government said, look here, you know we'll make your ass disappear just as quick as we made your man disappear. So this is what you're going to do. We got to get something out of you. So we're going to tell the world that you gave us something.
Do you know her history? Do you know who her father is?
No.
Okay. So
I read it one time, but
let's talk about that because that's really important. So Ghislaine Maxwell is a second generational honeypot. What's a honeypot? A honeypot is when governments use individuals, basically, so they'll get you in like a compromising position. So like they'll get somebody to like come after you, like a pretty girl or whatnot, to come onto you and then use that pretty girl to get information out of you. That girl in turn ends up being a honeypot. Okay. You know who else was a honeypot?
Sounds like a blackmailing type. Entrapment,
it is a blackmail. Okay. It is blackmail and entrapment. Do you know who was a historical honeypot for the U.S. government?
Marilyn Monroe.
No, Barack Obama's mother.
Fucking whore. What? I've never heard that in my life.
I can promise you this. I think I had talked about this in a Caballo Spot, but I can't talk about this enough. Please Google pictures of Barack Obama's mother and look up honeypot, Barack Obama's mother. You can also look up her as a dominatrix because she was very much listen, she was a honeypot. Do you know Betty Page?
Hey, we talked about everything that we're not, and we didn't mention none of this.
We didn't talk about any of this stuff.
And we've mentioned everything that we didn't know we were going to mention, and here we go.
I told you I got this. I got loads to talk about.
Okay, so Barack Obama's mama is showing pussy and shit.
Basically, I can promise you this is
God.
a real story. You can look up pictures. There's plenty of pictures. If you've ever looked at pictures of like old school pinups like Betty Page that were into like bondage. So this was really controversial stuff for the time, right? If you were like into bondage, like that was like hardcore triple X porn back then,
especially back then, of course.
Right, absolutely. So this is Barack Obama's mother. This is what she did. And, you don't know that. And that should be enough to let you know that you got to question everything the government tells you, because you don't know that Barack Obama's mother was a honeypot. You don't know that we're really not sure on who Barack Obama's father was. We don't know that Barack Obama's grandfather was a CIA agent openly. This isn't a secret. It's just a matter of researching it. But I digress. Ghislaine Maxwell is the daughter of her father, Robert Maxwell, was a spy for one of the most powerful militaries in the entire world, which is the Israeli military. And he was Mossad, which is the Israeli secret agency. And I won't touch too much on that topic, but basically that's what his job was. His job was to control people through blackmail. You put people into compromising positions. You got the right pictures.
So he taught his baby girl. He taught his baby girl everything.
That's exactly what it was. So Ghislaine Maxwell falls in love with this degenerate, Jeffrey Epstein. And she brings him into the family business. And that's what his job was. His island was the honeypot. Think about it this way, right?
So she kind of went into that with a weird daddy issue.
Of course she did. That was her whole issue. Of course it was. The entire thing. And she brings dude into the family business, right? But here's what I need you to imagine for a second, right? Political. You decide that you want to do the right thing and you want to run for politics, right? Guess what? Political campaigns cost money. You find a donor. Guy says, I'm going to pay for your political campaign. I want to pay for your ads. I want to put you in front of the right people. I want to hold a fundraiser for you. And you're like, cool, no problem. So you're dealing with this individual for several months. And then this individual who's been rather nice to you, has offered all these certain things to you and benefits and has tried to hook you up, tells you, hey, I own a private island in the Bahamas. Why don't you come out with your wife or whatever it may be, or come by yourself and let's hang out or let's do whatever it may be. And you go. And then when you get there, they're like, hey, listen, this island, low key. You don't got to worry about anything. What are you into?
Right.
Are you
closeted
homosexual? No, I don't think. I know this for a fact.
So that somebody else presented that to Jeffrey.
No, I don't think so. I think that Jeffrey's island was a specific honey trap. So what I mean by that is that the person that was making that offer was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein had a lot of money.
Okay. I thought you were trying to say that somebody set Jeffrey up first.
That then they're like, he's inviting all of these powerful friends that he's making into this island and then offering them like, hey, what are you into? Are you into illicit drugs that maybe you can't do while you're in DC? Are you maybe a closeted homosexual? Do you want to cheat on your wife with a prostitute? Are you into children? And you've got cameras set up all over the island, which we know that he did. Right.
But he definitely didn't tell his people.
No, absolutely not. These people are all the time. It's all a secret. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, they're all they're all part of this. Like, yeah, I've got dirt on you, but we all got dirt on each other. This is just the way that the system operates, because it truly is the way that it operates. It's all about what dirt you got on one another. And now you've got footage of a senator with a 7-year-old in a pool, or engaging in, some kind of illicit drug use or whatever it may be. So now, again, bringing it down to the natural part, because there's like, oh my God, no, like, think about this for a practical point of view. One night you got wild, you did some crazy shit that maybe you're ashamed of the next day, but now they've got footage of you. Mm-hmm. So now, a year and a half later, it comes down for the Senate to vote on something like, I don't know, liability for pharmaceutical companies. And you're a senator that's bought.
Right.
Now it's like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Remember that one night that we had at Jeffrey Epstein's island where you and 7-year-old were in a pool together or whatever it may be? Well, we need you to vote a certain way, or maybe that information can just end up in the press. And that's how they control. And that's secret, our intelligence agencies. And I mean ours, not just American intelligence agencies, but intelligence agencies all around the world have been operating by using honeypots and using that form of blackmail for a very long time. And there is a lot of individuals within...
So you think Jeffrey was connected?
I know for a fact that Jeffrey Epstein was connected to that.
A secret agency? So wasn't Jeffrey doing it on his own?
Jeffrey Epstein was connected to the Israeli Secret Service. He was connected to the Mossad through Ghislaine Maxwell, who is a second generation.
Now look, when you speak with such certainty, I want to speak for the naysayers. I want to speak for those who are going to question you and be like, all right, well, how do you know that? obviously you read something. Obviously you know something. Obviously something's documented. Obviously, like, so in short terms, how is it that you feel so certain about that?
First of all, you said it perfectly at the beginning of the podcast where you're like, I want to clarify that I spent an average of 16.5 hours on my phone researching in an effort to be able to contradict anybody that tries to argue my points, right? So with all due respect to every single human, I am sick. With all due respect, the easy answer is I just know more because I research more. But here's the thing.
Yeah, you're
the
right.
fact that Ghislaine Maxwell's father was an agent for the Israeli Secret Service is not a secret. This is public knowledge. You can look up the history of Robert Maxwell. The fact that Jeffrey Epstein was using the island as a honeypot, therefore was trying to gain intel on individuals is not a secret. This is actually public knowledge. It's what you'll hear on any ABC, CBS, whatever documentary it is. So again, they're not going to give you all the little pieces, but you need to put it together. So you already know that the father did work for the Israeli Secret Services and that he was in charge of basically gaining information that could gain them some kind of advantage in warfare, right? Not just warfare. When we think warfare, it's not just jets and launches, missiles and shit like that being launched. Like warfare is psychological too. It's about controlling information.
Of course,
controlling
psychological warfare.
And the complete control of power, right? To get what you cause. So this isn't a conspiracy theories. Jeffrey Epstein was an asset of the Israeli Secret Service, and his job was to gain information and put individuals of power and influence into credible situations that then he can use as blackmail to use those people of power and influence to gain their to push whatever narrative it is that wants to be pushed. I'll keep it short because I know that we're limited, but if you look at the island was used for pedophilia, but the ranch is where the scientists went to. It's where the university professors went to, because in the ranch, he was talking about cloning.
Jesus
and
Christ.
This is not
a lot of people don't even know about
this.
This
is not a far-fetched conspiracy theory. In fact, one of the fashion magazines, whether it was Vogue or something or along those lines, I can't recall which one it was, has an entire article talking about how this ranch, while his goal was human cloning. He wanted to clone himself. He was inviting the people from Yale, from Harvard, from all these Ivy League universities to help him on his quest. So this isn't outlandish. And this is the thing, this is what makes me different than other red pillars, is that I'm going to come to you with historical facts. This is not a lie. That's why Bill Gates was at that ranch.
What's going on, beautiful world? Thank you once again for tuning in. I just wanted to cut in really quick and tell you guys, man, I really appreciate all the love and support. This is season 3. We're several podcasts in. We got so many more coming. There's a lot of things that's coming that's brand new, from the Go Ahead and Ask vlog series to a bunch of merchandise and to even a new podcast series that's coming out in the future. Look out for it in the summer. But for now, guys, we couldn't have even made it this far if it wasn't for all of you guys. Thank you for the love and support. Appreciate it. Let's get back to the podcast. Okay, so I was telling you way earlier a few of my weaknesses when we were kind of prepping for the podcast, that when it comes to pedophilia, child molestation, and even rape, oh my God, it just really, it doesn't really, just saying that just gets under
pedophiles, communists, and feminists. Those are my top 3.
Well, there you go. We all have this thing, and there's reasons for it, or there's not, or there's subconscious reasons for it. Whatever it is, those 3 things just do something to me. And when it comes to the Epstein thing, that can be a podcast. That can be a couple podcasts on its own. And by the way, I can't wait to have you back already, because we just have so many things to talk about. But we're trying to go about this the right way. So just understand you're gonna be back here real quick. So something that I wanted to bring up, not to get away from the MC talk, because it is what it is, and everything you said is true. And you just said earlier that your girlfriend texted you about the video footage that they have now, and that it's an ongoing case. It's a bunch of sickness, but we know that the elitists who are involved are not going to get exposed. And that's the part that bothers me, and that's why I walk away from it now, because it's like, all right, that's just so sickening. You think it is? You think you think some of them are gonna get exposed?
I do. You know what I think
if
it is?
If Clinton doesn't go down, then I don't believe it.
So
that's it.
I get it.
He's the big fish. He's the big fish.
I know, but here's the thing. Because he's the big fish, he's gonna be the last fish. So if what you're waiting for is to see Clinton go down, we're gonna be waiting until the end for that to happen. There's so many things that happen every day that lead me down that direction. The fact that we're even here having this conversation right now lets me know that the day of reckoning is coming, and I have full faith that it will.
Okay,
because I
like that.
I've seen the progression of not being able to talk about these things to where it is that we're at right now.
Yes, great point.
It's mainstream.
Great point.
This is mainstream,
and that is progression. That's progression.
It's no longer hiding in the corners of the internet. It's enough people are believing in it where it's getting harder to write it off as a conspiracy theory. It's like human trafficking is not a conspiracy theory.
That's something that's been exposed ginormously in the last year.
Pedophilia is not a conspiracy theory. In fact, normalizing pedophilia is not a conspiracy theory.
See, now that's sickening.
It's real life. All you got to do is look it up on YouTube. Look up pedophilia on YouTube, and probably out of like the first 10 videos you see, at least 3 of them are like, why what is it that they call themselves? Non-acting or some other BS or another, but basically pedophiles that don't that say I've never raped a kid before, so therefore me being a pedophile isn't a bad thing.
And I know there's plenty of states who are labeling it as an illness.
An illness, right? It's a mental
illness. And then some states have lowered the punishment on the crime. And Isabella, I don't want to go there. The next one. I swear to God, the next one, I'll prep up for the next one, because it really does something to me. It's a weird thing. I get fucking fired up, and I want to make sure I'm mentally prepped for the next one. So I wanted to talk about the central banking system, because this is something that a lot of people don't pay a lot of attention to or know the root of it. And I wish if they did, I know I know, some people know, the roots are way deeper. We know that. And you're almost a fucking historian. You literally, know about shit goes all the way to the Roman times, to the fucking Crusades. Like, I'm trying to spare people a different podcast. Like, we're going to do this again, and we're not shutting down yet at all, but we know what we're trying to avoid. I know that you know a lot of historical facts.
I know a lot, and I think that it ties up a lot to what it is that's going on too right now.
So what I want to do is I want to teach people a quick factor, and I want you to help me out on it. The first central, unless you're going to go super historical on me on some shit that I don't know, the first established central, because it wasn't federal, banking system was done in Europe before the European colonies split up and came to America.
Right. So, but I think more importantly than that is who is behind.
Right. No, I know.
And let the,
I do want to say that. Yeah.
Which is, I guess just like the key point, which is, this idea of a centralized banking system, of a federal banking system. Everybody, when you hear the word centralized, federal, it's so easy to imagine like a branch of government,
right?
Or something that's associated to
something we all agree to.
Yeah, we all agree to. It's like, oh, that makes sense. They work with the IRS or something like that. So here's the thing: our centralized banking system, so the federal banking system, is actually a privately owned banking system by the Rockefeller family.
Right. So before that got exposed, and this is why I was trying to give everybody a little historical fact. The same people which I thought it was Rockefeller, it wasn't Rothschild?
I'm sorry, Rothschild. Did I say
Rothschild. Okay, yeah, you said Rockefeller. So I thought maybe they mixed up. Don't worry, we know they're rubbing shoulders. We know that, so it doesn't matter.
We smoked a little bit. Sorry,
that too. No, but we know
my
that.
Followers are always so.
But we actually know that they actually are all in it together, so it doesn't matter. But speaking of the banking system, so where the European colonies split up, it was because the portion of the Europeans who were like, nah, we're going to go over to America, we're going to start our own shit, was because the central banking system started in Europe. And these people said, nah, we're not going to let a bunch of rich-ass motherfuckers lend our country money, because then we're always going to be under.
Right, because that's the way that it works.
That's how it started.
So it's right endless debt. It's like, so
forever.
Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to
because there was the interest rate.
Correct.
They introduced the interest rate.
We're going to print your money for you, with an eternal interest rate. So from the minute that a dollar is printed, there's already an interest rate that is attached to that dollar.
Therefore, basically, infinitely, you can't get out of this.
You can't, no, regardless of what you do. It doesn't matter how much money you make. Every time that you make a dollar, it's printed with an interest on it.
You're
Therefore,
gonna owe me.
you're perpetual.
You're always going to owe me.
Correct.
So those who realized that in layman's term felt like, nah, man, they're going to run this whole thing, and we're not about that life. We're going to go over here and start our own shit. So they came over here to the Americas, cut through the chase. In due time, part of that Rothschild family came over here. Some of them changed their name. They tried to do the central banking system again, and they did try to start it under a central banking system. And at that time, if I'm not mistaken, it was Abraham Lincoln.
Well, you're schooling me now. Go ahead.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Abraham Lincoln was opposed to it and said, no, we're not gonna be about this central banking system thing. Matter of fact, we need to stop what's going on with the dollar and let's introduce, and he called it the greenback. If I'm not mistaken. He was trying to catch it.
I mean, I know.
I think it was.
So here's the thing: the entire system, what it goes down to, is that currency is supposed to be valued off the gold backing.
Exactly.
So the actual value comes from gold, right? Which is what we have to
That's
mine.
what I started.
It takes work,
right?
So currency is supposed to be dictated by the amount of reserves that a country has of gold. Mm-hmm. Therefore leading to a gold standard, which is what determines how much value your dollar has because of whatever gold reserves it is that you have. And that's historically the idea of what we used to go by before we had a federal banking system. Now, the federal banking system basically lends out money past the reserves of gold, if you will, that we have, and does so at an interest. The problem is this isn't Again, this isn't a federal institution. This is a private company. But here's the crazy part, which is what we were just talking about. The federal banking system is basically in every other country in the world, with the exception of, I think we're down to 3 right now. I think it's Iran, Cuba, and maybe Venezuela. There's 3 countries right now
who don't have a central
that do not have a central banking system that's linked back to the Rothschilds.
So I didn't know that they were connected to all those. Yeah. But again, to go further, because I want somebody to challenge me. We both want people to challenge us.
Always.
I know that if I'm going to say something, I'm either going to say, hey, don't quote me on me, or I'm going to be like, I'm pretty accurate on this one. Go challenge me. So once Abraham Lincoln saw that and put the greenback into effect, say what you want, he got assassinated. Okay. I'm not sure why, who, whatever. We all know who was blamed and so on and so forth. But okay, let's move it forward. So they came back with another concept, and at this point, they came back with the Federal Reserve banking system. That's where it started. It was the central got killed because they knew it was attached to Europe and then to what Lincoln had already denied. So they came up with Federal Reserve banking system. And please look this up. They basically paid, I don't know, there might be other stories, but they basically convinced President Woodrow Wilson, we're going to back you up, we're going to lobby for you, we're going to take care of everything, and we're going to get you elected. But if we do this, because you don't have a chance against whoever it was he was going against, you have to immediately put in this whatever law, whatever it was, to approve of the federal.
That happens prior to Kennedy. So Kennedy comes
this was like 1920 or some shit, if I'm not mistaken.
Way prior to Kennedy.
Super prior.
When we get to Kennedy, what we're talking about is that's when things start when people have like theories that link back to like JFK. JFK's presidency.
By the way, this is where I need excuse me for interrupting you. This is where I need a Jamie that I haven't found yet. So that when we get stuck right now, I'll be like, Jamie, look that up real quick.
Where were we? Can you please look that up?
Can you look that up, that Woodrow Wilson shit? Because I don't want somebody to call me out and just say I'm fucking full of shit. Can you please look that up, and then we'll pull it up on the screen. By the way, guys, for y'all paying attention, I am actually actively looking for an intern, okay, who can play, let's say, the Jamie of that'd
be cool. Someone in Miami. I'll put it out there on my channel
and if you're young and in college and you're trying to get the experience of dealing with a podcast, working the controls, working the roadcaster, working the changing between screens and things of that nature, give me a holler, or if you know somebody who is, give me a holler. Let's follow up on that. But yeah, I wish we can do that so that we can verify.
I'll post it
But
on my page too, so that I can see if we can get to
Sounds
somebody
good.
out there. So I think that one of the cool things, because it's I'm always gonna link back to, I think I love when history, proves past proves present, right?
Right.
And when history can prove what it is that we're living right now, it's pretty quite substantial, which leads to, you had asked me earlier what was like my red pill moment. I had told you about the moment that I had like woken up. Because I had been down conspiracy theories for a long time, I understood how the Federal Reserve works. Now, here's another thing that most people don't understand, and here's a red pill. When you are born, look at your birth certificate. If you look at the digit behind your birth certificate, it looks similar to another number that we look at very recently, and that's the number behind a dollar bill. It's usually got an F in front of it or a letter in front of it, and it's got a serial number behind it. And it's because your birth certificate is almost collateral, if you will, to the Federal Reserve from the minute that you're born. This is how it is that you are allowed to take a loan out from the Federal Reserve, is based off the citizens that you have within your country. So you have a dollar amount attached to your entire livelihood of how much you're going to consume, which goes back to consumerism and servitude that we had talked about from the beginning. How much are you always? How much are you going to consume within your life? And I think that the average human being will consume a total of like 1.5 or 1 point something $million throughout your entire life as a consumer.
Okay.
So from the minute that you are born, you are almost given up to the Federal Reserve as collateral of like, this individual is going to spend this much money. So logically, you should lend me this much money because I've had this many people be born. This many people will equal out to this amount of money, and therefore, right? That's kind of the logic behind the system of the lending system of the Federal Reserve, and how it is that we end up becoming slaves again to consumerism, because that's what it's all based off.
So it's evident that you've definitely touched up on it many times for many different reasons, that there is an elite group that's pushing all these
a globalist agenda to enslave us. And when we say movements, let's talk about all the movements, right? Let's talk about the environment, everything. And listen, I recycle. I don't throw trash away in the beach. I believe in preserving a rainforest and in locations that are I believe in all of that. So I am an environmentalist to some degree. But I do not believe the globalist lie of environmentalism, where they tell you that if you pay an extra tax, you're going to save the environment. That if we switch out from gas to electric, that we're going to save the environment. That if we eat less meat, we're going to save the environment. These are all lies that are being fed through us through a narrative that sounds good enough, right? Everybody wants to do the right thing for the environment, which is exactly how it is that they get you in order to introduce these very globalist type policies, which are affecting us incredibly on a day-to-day. And I'm sure we're going to come up to a point right now where we're going to transition the topic, which is fantastic, because in the last couple of the last year or so, I'd say in the last couple of months, actually, I've been getting a lot more locally involved in what it is that's going down here in Miami, and it has been disgusting and heart-wrenching to see how completely interwebbed and locked the truths that I know from a globalist standpoint, from these elitist people taking over the world and wanting to enslave us, and how in bed they are with our local politicians, with our local leaders, with our local elected officials, a globalist, elitist, whatever you want to, Illuminati, dark forces, whatever the hell you want to call them. I don't really care. They're not us.
Right.
We want to live our lives in peace. We want to live our lives, go to our jobs, and to raise our families, have our kids. That's what regular people want to do. These people do not believe in that. They want to enslave you. And I mean, that can sound as extreme as you want it to be, but you know what? 2 years ago, people called me crazy because I said that they were going to force a vaccination on you.
Let me ask you this before you go
into that realm.
Deeper into that. Not the vaccination, but the local, what you're doing locally, because I think that's huge. And obviously, before we finish the podcast, everybody needs to hear about that so they can get involved and follow your movement and so on and so forth. But I want to try to be devil's advocate, I don't always do that, but I like to say more. Let me put myself in the naysayer shoes. What are people going to say? My close friends would know that if this wasn't a podcast and I was talking to you outside and we were smoking one, drinking one, chilling, they know that I would ask you certain things to test you in a certain way. Okay? I want to think like that for the regular amount of people. So what I want to, so I know you're great at it. You're awesome at this. What I want to ask you is this, and let your answers take us into, and then locally you're doing what you're doing. What is the common, if I look up Holy Chick, which you have on your t-shirt, cool t-shirt by the way. If I look up Holy Chick on Google.
Mabel Love Boutique.
There you go. Shout out. Y'all better pay my homegirl. If I look up Holy Chick, it's going to tell me what Holy Chick is. And then, you know how it gives you those questions of what the typical people ask? How do I buy Holy Chick? What is a Holy Chick? Google presents most common questions. I want to ask you, what are the most common questions? Let's do 3. Okay. The top 3 debunkers, haters, people who really want to question you and be like, all right, if they watch this and they listen thoroughly and they're like, God damn, Wes, all right, she's saying some real deep shit there. What do you think will be the 3 top questions that somebody would ask you to try to throw you off, to try to be like, you know what, you're just a conspirator. You know what, you're just somebody involved emotionally.
I got 100 of them.
Okay, and how would you address them? What are those 3? So that I don't have to do it.
Yeah, it's I guess just, I don't know. Let's think. Like, what are the things that people love to debunk? Like,
everybody wants evidence. Let's
talk about. Okay, here's a perfect one. Let's talk about the China virus.
Okay, the China virus.
China, because it came from China.
Epic.
Okay, so let's talk about the China virus. So last year, when you posted that the China virus came from China. Yeah. You got dinged on your Instagram page. Yeah. It was a fact checker would come in and be like, "That's fake news," you know.
And it's racist.
Something.
And it's this.
Snopes says that that's fake news and it's never been proven, and that's just an absolute lie. But if you looked at the news cycle in the last 48 hours or so, Facebook has actually taken a stance where now, it's been proven that the China virus did in fact come from a lab in China. Now, they haven't admitted that it was a bioweapon, which it was. We already know that. That's the information that gets censored. And a lot of the time, you can figure out what's really real.
Do you think we're still going to figure out a lot more? Or
we just got started. We just got started. We just got started. Sit back, wait. Listen, 2020, 2021 was a good year to be a conspiracy theorist, as most people like to call it. It was a really good year. Because a lot of the things that people called us crazy for in the past turned out to be true.
Right.
You know? A couple of years ago, you would have said they're going to take away your medical freedoms. They're going to mandate that you need to get a vaccine in order to be able to do X, Y, Z. And people would have been like, oh my God, there go those lunatic, crazy conspiracy theorists. Well, here we are. If you want to go to a Heat game, you got to sit. And they won't, and they also won't think that a chip was put into them. But they're allowing a vaccination, but not even fathoming that there could be a microscopic chip in there. Forget the fathoming. I don't think that this is something that's outlandish. They're not going to hide anything from you. The Pentagon released a couple of months ago, either 4 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, the Pentagon came out and publicly said that, yeah, absolutely, they are working on a chip that can detect whether or not you have COVID under your skin. So if you ever catch it, the chip is just going to trigger you and be able to tell you that you've got COVID. So let's stop acting like this is outlandish. You can look this up. Look it up. The Pentagon said it just 5 months ago that they are absolutely working on a chip that will be able to tell you and detect whether or not you've caught COVID.
All right. So before we go on to what you think the next most popular debunking question would be, do you think that these vaccinations do have some type of chip in there of some sort?
No, I don't think that they have a chip in there right now. I think that the vaccinations are going to be...
You think they're bona fide vaccinations, or you think there's something more evil behind it?
No, I think that there is absolutely something evil behind it. I think that these things are on... I mean, I hear the stories every single day, and I'm gonna help you out here, and I'm gonna keep it short when it comes to this topic, because these are the type of things I get. People don't want us talking about, but there's enough stories online of people having adverse.
Are we allowed to talk about this without getting demonetized?
Right now, we're still in an okay place.
Okay.
There's people that are having adverse side effects, and those are not things that are being talked about right
Okay,
now,
for
right?
sure.
But that's not where I think that the bigger control is. I think that it's irresponsible. I think that they're not in a place. It's not a secret. You can look this up. They're not FDA approved. They haven't
hasn't been
gotten any
tested
kind
long
of
enough.
approval. We
Right.
don't know what the long-term
They
side
stopped
effects
doing it on
are. People
animals.
correct, exactly.
The animals are
animals
dying.
have had, and in fact, they stopped the testing because the animals were dying within a 3-year span of taking the shot. So neither there. But what
If you guys don't know that, don't fucking be some dickheads and just act like we're full of shit. You guys go look it up. Everything she just said and what I just piggybacked on is the truth.
Yeah.
There should be any other time you can say we're in an emergency. Okay. You should not put out a vaccination which has not been approved, tested thoroughly, and so on and so forth with good results. You shouldn't put it out in that little of a time.
I mean,
it is what it is.
That's a whole other topic because
they
all get sent out. But here's a bigger idea, right? Which is, and here's a bigger problem. All of this is leading to a police state. This is something that's already, if you've never heard of a social credit score before, this isn't a conspiracy theory. This is already something that's enacted in China, again, where the virus comes from. There's such a thing as a social credit score. So what does that mean? If you say the wrong thing on social media, they can ding you 10 credit scores. And what does that mean? That when you go apply for a new apartment or a new job, why do you have such a low social credit score?
Because you talk too much shit. God damn.
Bingo. Now the government's got you controlled in thought, in mind, what you can speak, what you can say. And this is the overall idea, to be able to control the complete narrative. If they can limit what it is that you can say, what you can do, because they've got you under complete control. So the shot is a form of that. The shot is a form of that being a form of control. You can't travel. You can't be a consumer without it. When you start saying that you can't shop at certain places or eat at certain places because unless you've got this thing, now there is an overall government control over your body, over your anatomy.
So what are you telling somebody who's medically shitting on themselves? Like, but Isabella, I don't want to catch it. Are you going to tell them that it doesn't exist? You going to tell them it's fake?
No, I would never say that. I would say that the numbers show that you've got a 98.9% of survival, that if you're not overweight,
right,
if you're not a senior citizen, if you don't have some kind of respiratory issues, then you are going to be okay. Have you ever had the flu? I've had the flu. You know what the flu did to me? The flu knocked me out for 2 weeks. In a bed. I couldn't get up. I couldn't get up. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. I thought I was going to die 2 weeks with the flu. You'll live. That's the thing. Most people live. That's what the most outlandish thing about this is, that we've shut down the world over a virus with a 99% chance of survival, guys. Right. What are we talking about? That's, so when we're talking about issues like a local issue that we're working on locally right now, which is unmasking the kids that have a 99.9 point. I mean, the chances of them even catching it is a 0.0.8, 0.008 or something along those lines. So what's like,
but the negative effect of having them, forcing them to wear these masks.
Oh, there's all sorts of negative things.
It's ginormous.
From the fact, from just bacterial things that could happen to them, to not to mention the psychological.
Yeah, I was gonna say
damage
mental.
Yeah,
exactly.
Kids.
Yeah. It's a horrible thing.
So I think that's one of the things that I would say is a big enough deal. I mean.
So what else? What is somebody gonna be like? All right, Wes. Well, she said this one statement.
I mean, look.
I got a couple of homeboys. They're gonna be like, "Yo, dude, she's awesome. I love that. She's passionate. But come on, man. She said, what do you think somebody's gonna attack you on? Because when I was taught all these things that and we haven't even said shit.
Here's another thing. I think that we can talk about this. We just be careful of the words that we say. But the fact that there is fraud is being looked at in Maricopa County right now.
Okay.
And that in November, when the results of the election were given, and people were like, "Wait a minute, something's fishy there." People were like, "Oh, stop being a conspiracy theorist."
Okay.
Fraud happens.
So a good sign is that it does seem like they're legitimately going deeper into their investigations of that.
I firmly believe that the investigations are going to lead to a big breakthrough, and I think that.
Are we talking about years down the line?
No, but I don't think so. I think that the first, I think we're going to start seeing. But here's the thing: I think we're going to see a new form. We're going to see a civil war. But.
Legit, you think like that?
No, don't think of a civil war like we did the first time.
Okay.
It's gonna be a civil war, but what we're gonna see is gonna be a split, right? Like a split down our military, a split down in politics. Have you ever heard of the 2-president prophecy?
No. Oh my God. Yes, I did.
From
roughly.
Clemens.
I forgot when, but I did.
He prophesied. He had a lot of. I forgot his whole name right now. It's something Clemens. What? do the research.
See, intern, please, let's talk about it. That was awesome.
I'm like, I lost my train of thought, but you know, Clement, he has this theory where he had this premonition. He had a lot of premonitions many years in advance to prophesize the existence of a Donald Trump presidency, and one of the things that he predicted was that there was going to be a time when we were going to have a double president. And I think that's what we're walking into right now.
Oh, I get it.
There is, you know, there's going to be the president that's recognized by the media. That people are going to be like, oh, you know, that there was no fraud. There was, what are you guys talking about? We're going to have that president. And then we're going to have the people that are like, oh, no, the fraud was proven. I saw those millions of people that went out there to vote for Donald Trump.
Do you feel that people are... I hate to use the word because of that whole woke shit and how bad it's been, you know, abused. But do you feel like people are awakening? People are people being more receptive to the use of the world?
Yes.
Are people taking in? Obviously, it should be because you keep getting banned and you come right back and make a strong movement. But so do you really do think people are being more receptive, especially with what's going on?
I see it. You know, I was actually having this conversation.
That's encouraging,
today
right? That must feel good.
Other Trufer accounts, and they were like, I'm so sick and tired of this round because people have come to information in waves. And when you run accounts like mine, and I know a lot of people that do, it's interesting that you do see people coming in with waves, with different topics that brought them in. And the other two for accounts were saying, I'm so sick and tired of this round of people that came in with coronavirus, like at the end. Like, it took you this long to figure out what was really going on.
Because their attention span got narrow.
No, I mean, listen, we're brainwashed from the minute that we're born. So to me, it's not as long as you get to the light at some point in particular. But the entire system is actually set up for you to feed into the lie. So not being awake to the truth isn't a knock on you. You know, as much as it's a testament when you get out of it. You know, when you
you might get misled by your parents, your school system.
It's all you're actually getting misled by all of it. Your school system, your parents, your doctors, your teachers. Everything is letting you down from the minute. You know, it's you got to question all of your reality, and that's the thing. Which it's not even about everything that you know is fake. It's about you do need to get into a point where you're going to question everything on whether or not it's real until you find out through your own discernment and through your own research of really what differentiates reality from fiction. Because there's a lot of things out there that we've been sold as absolute truths that just really aren't.
What's going on, beautiful world? Thank you once again for tuning in. I just wanted to cut in really quick and tell you guys, man, I really appreciate all the love and support. This is season 3. We're several podcasts in. We got so many more coming. There's a lot of things that's coming that's brand new, from the Go Ahead and Ask vlog series to a bunch of merchandise and to even a new podcast series that's coming out in the future. Look out for it in the summer. But for now, guys, we couldn't have even made it this far if it wasn't for all of you guys. Thank you for the love and support. Appreciate it. Let's get back to the podcast. So that's actually great that you mentioned that. How the whole election and, you know, what they're being accused of and what we strongly feel is going to be put into light. And you guys know that I'm sugarcoating that for all the politically right reasons, because we want to make sure that this stays public on YouTube and on everything other platform. But speaking about that, definitely with all the controversy that went on with that and is going on with that right now, and even all the way down to the connections of what DeSantis. Huge props to him. I'm not sure how you feel about him.
G Santis, you mean? Because he's a
did you guys catch that? G Santis, I love it. With the fucking the
he's
meme.
An absolute
the meme with the fucking
we
shades
and
the
we don't deserve him. We don't deserve him.
Oh man, listen, you motherfuckers, stop coming to Florida because of our fucking boy and everything we got going on.
Stop messing your shit up. If you want to bring in your liberal shit, like don't come over here to Florida, man. We got something good going on.
We're gonna tag everybody. Please tag the Florida Governor DeSantis on this and just let him know that we think he's fucking amazing. We appreciate him, and I hope I can get him on the podcast one day. But you know a lot about what's going on locally. I know that we just talked about statewide, but now let's bring it down to the South. To the real
you know that's what I'm really here for, right?
So what you got going on? Because I know you've been doing, I don't know if it was podcasts or what it is, but I saw you doing everything.
Okay. I've been doing a little bit of everything as it comes to local things. So here's my thing, right? I do a lot of research. I think you know
definitely something that we elaborate a
lot of research, and my research started leading me in the same direction, which is like, oh, holy shit,
I love when you do these voices.
People, these people are attacking us at a local level. And then I started, I got this, my slight autism. I started like, well, how about these like crazy digs that I do on, people like Hillary Clinton and, Podestas and all these other like big names that people love to hear dirt on. What if I switch that kind of expertise, if you will?
So when you say crazy dig, in case nobody caught that, she means like research.
A
like,
dig is
like
research.
digging deep into all the crazy shit.
Right, right. Dig and being able to find some like good, juicy information.
That holds water.
Like, at a minimum, and it's not even about holding water. I told you this earlier. I don't claim to know the truth on anything, but I do claim to pose the I pose the
great
right
arguments.
Questions.
Make your questions.
I'm asking you the right questions. So I want answers to the questions that are being presented, and more often than not, I'm presenting them because I know that nobody's been able to provide an answer yet, and therefore, it leads me down that rabbit hole, right? So, I started digging into local politicians, and one of the things I started realizing that a lot of these taboo type topics that get people really engaged in conspiracy theories, right? Like people using pedophilia as like honeypots, like we were talking about earlier, or I don't know.
These taboo conversations.
Taboo, politicians being involved in corruption and illicit, and it all being connected, and all of this this idea that's enticing to people. So people normally love to hear when you hear like, "Hey, this is what I know about Hillary Clinton," and then I started finding out that information about our local politicians. So, for example, one of the things that I did was on our mayor, Daniela Levin Cava. Is
newly appointed mayor.
Newly appointed
for
mayor.
For those of you who are not from Miami, or even if you're from Miami and you got your head up on your ass, she just became mayor about
Miami-Dade County in November of 2020. She was she was sworn in as mayor of Miami-Dade County in November 2020.
Behind Dickhead Suarez, right?
No, Suarez still remains the mayor of the city of Miami. She is the county mayor, Miami-Dade County.
Oh, we got a double-headed
dragon. So we've got several mayors.
I didn't even know that.
Most of the cities in Miami have their own mayor. So it's like Hialeah and Coral Gables, townships or whatnot. But here's the thing: Daniela Cava was voted through a mail-in majority, just like creepy the president was.
Creepy.
So I did a little bit of research, and I was looking into her donations, which again are private and public information that most people just don't research. And I was like, I want to see who's donating money to her. I want to see who controls her, right?
So anybody can look this up.
Yeah, this is public information.
Okay.
For any elected politician, which is why at the end of this, I'm going to come full circle, and the goal will be to get every single person to go out there and do the research that they need to do on their local politicians and the people who are making decisions for them. Hell yeah. So.
Epic moment with my motherfucking homegirl. Love it.
My page knows I fucks with this. So. As I'm talking about the mayor who would probably talk shit about me being a weed smoker, even though
at some point she's gonna throw this back at you.
She claims to be a liberal.
I saw that podcast.
I see you smoking weed on your podcast. My God, I'm pro weed. I'm gonna run for politics someday, and I'm gonna absolutely run on a pro marijuana stance.
But you mean that, and I want to come back to that because you mean that.
I absolutely mean that.
Okay, so let's not lose that.
Story.
Okay, this is real talk.
No, I'm out here letting people know that I'm challenging you. Is that my camera?
Yeah,
I'm challenging
right
you. I'm coming for some kind of political position at some point. No, with Daniela Cava, so we start doing the research, and I end up finding information on how the majority of her campaign funds, a legitimate almost $1 million of her campaign fund, came from one dude, and his name is Donald Sussman.
Who is that?
Like,
did you say that covert?
Like Fight Club. Like his name is Donald Sussman.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, his name is actually Donald Sussman. So this individual's name, you can Google him, and he'll come up as one of the most influential people in politics because he donates a lot of money to the big Democratic campaigns, including the Clinton campaigns. So then you dig, and dig a little further. And what do you find? Buddy owns an island next to Little St. James Island.
Oh, God.
What's Little St. James Island?
This fucking cocksuckers.
Jeffrey Epstein's Island. Oh my God, Isabella, Red Pill Bay, what's the big deal? You're such a conspiracy theorist. Dig a little further. Jeffrey Epstein and this guy, Donald Sussman, were friends. Public friends, acquaintances. They attended affairs together. They were friends. This dude, Donald Sussman, is the single biggest contributor to our mayor's campaign.
Jesus Christ.
Why is a guy that donates, millions of dollars to big Senate seats and big congressional seats, why are they so invested in what the mayor of one city does?
So look, let me try to ask what I think some people would ask right now while they hear this, okay? Or claim what they might claim. Well, you have no proof. You have no proof unless you're going to say guilty by association, and that's a double case. And by the way, you understand I'm playing devil's advocate.
Absolutely, bring it on. I love this.
So you have double accusations. You got guilty by association because of the Jeffrey Epstein thing. Let me be 1,000% clear that I'm 100% on board with you. You like
Correct.
that? 1,000% clear that I'm 100% bored. I like that numbers. And then to follow up with that, the double part is now you're also guilty by association connected to the governor. I'm sorry, to the our mayor.
Correct.
Mayor, you said, right?
Correct.
So is there a little bit more evidence? If there's somebody who's gonna be like, okay, good connection, great job,
Look,
tuck. But is there a little bit more?
I'm not trying to convince anybody that our mayor is a potential pedophile being run. That's not what it is.
Okay.
But I think that
You do your research, you shouldn't be connected to that.
When you've got the majority of your donations anywhere between $2,000 and $10,000, and then you've had somebody dropping $850,000 into your campaign, which is a substantial difference from any other donation made to your campaign.
Question everything about it.
Then as constituents, it's our civil duty to keep an eye on that relationship. But let's take it a little bit further.
Agreed.
Donald Sussman is connected to a company that does marketing and advertisements for health organizations. But here's the kicker. It's not an American company. It's a Chinese company. This guy's job, how can I put this for you? A lot like if you wanted to make vaccines sound cool, you would use a company like this, okay? And if you're paying any attention to what our local mayor has been up to on social media, she is the queen of making the shot seem like the coolest.
What, with the Dunkin' Donuts and shit? Is she part of that movement?
No, forget Dunkin' Donuts. So you know what they had them at Gramps?
God, that shit fucking
Gramps
pisses
was
me off.
offering free pizza and free beer to anybody that would be willing to go over there and get the shot. And that's something that we worked in partnership with the mayor. And again, so I'm not asking you to believe a conspiracy theory. It's just when you're watching your mayor push this thing in like a really not honest way, you're like, dude, like, what is your obsession with this? Like, calm down. It's a bit
and then if that
much.
triggers you and you happen to do a little bit of extra research and find out everything you just said with the connection to Epstein and then going trickling down and then suspect ass decisions and move.
How many times can you watch this story repeat itself with the same group of people before you realize that it's like, hold on a second, wait. Maybe there's
some fishy here. Yeah.
Maybe something does tie in together here. And that's all I ask people to do. Look at all of the information before you discredit it, because it's a really long, complicated interweb story.
I think I go back to the laziness, the complacency, the spoiled bratness of having so much connection at the palm of your hands that people,
so much information.
Yeah, so people don't care to verify this type of shit that you're saying.
I've talked about this.
And that's why they don't put it together, honey. It makes them think too much.
I've talked about this so many times.
But you're right.
Together, right? So we're getting to a point where there's a lot of things that are difficult to deny. Like there's things that you would have called me a conspiracy theorist 3 years ago that now you can't. You're like, oh shit, but you might have been right. Right. And I think that people are having more of that moment. So then this is a two-step thing. We have been given wrong information for a very long time from sources that we considered to be credible, whether it be social, whether it be mainstream media or our schooling system or celebrities. We trusted. There was a generation of people that trusted celebrities blindly. It's like, oh my God, Jennifer Aniston is so cute. Like anything she says has to be a good thing.
She's still cute though.
I mean, I get that, but we're transitioning into a point where like I don't really shit what a celebrity has to say. Like, I don't really care
Right,
about your
for
political
sure.
opinion. Shut the hell up. Get your reward, thank God, and keep it moving. I don't care what your political view is. Everybody's got a political opinion at this point, and that's not. It's gotten annoying. It's gotten to a point where that's why when you watch award shows and their ratings in the last 10-year trend, they're abysmal. Like they canceled the Golden Globes. They're never gonna have a Golden Globe again ever. We canceled Hollywood. It's canceled. Nobody cares anymore. Nobody gives a shit about what you people have to say.
Is that because what they've been exposed? Is that
I do
because
think they've been
COVID?
exposed.
Is that just?
I think that it goes back to what we were just talking about, which is information. People now have access and they realize, like, wait a minute, I can't really trust these people. They've kind of just been feeding me one narrative. They don't give me the whole truth. It comes off a little hypocritical. People are starting to have those questions and they're starting to realize the things that are truly like, maybe I can only rely on myself for information. But here's a second hurdle that we have, right? So now you realize you have your first awakening moment. Oh, everything's a lie. Everything I've ever learned is a lie. Everything I learned in school, everything celebrities told me, everything's a lie. And that's the first part. And then you go out there and you're like, I need to find information. But here's the thing. You've been fed, you got to think about it almost like baby birds. You know how moms like chew up food and then they regurgitate that and they feed it into babies?
A good way of putting it.
So for such a long time, that's how information has been fed to us. Like you said, short attention spans.
Right.
You trust Jennifer Aniston. So if Jennifer Aniston tells you, let's do, whatever, an ice bucket challenge or whatever it is, you're going to do it because you trust Jennifer Aniston. The problem is, for a very long time, we had information regurgitated to us. It was chewed up. We never had to actually go out there, do research, process information.
Get it raw.
So now you have a group of people that accept that, okay, everything that I've ever learned is a lie. But tell me what to think. Tell me what the truth is. Tell me, red pill babe. What's the truth? What's going to happen? What's the plan? Are we going to be saved? Is the Illuminati going to get us? We're transitioning because we're still learning. It's not just that everything that we learned is a lie, is that we also are learning that we've never thought for ourselves.
Would you say that even though COVID is, let's just jump the gun on some conspiratorial shit and say, it was man-made. It was done on purpose. It was whichever concept you want to go
we know it was man-made. That's already official news, and Facebook will no longer block that because now it's official news that it was created in a laboratory. So we can argue whether or not it was.
But what happens after the laboratory in regards to the animal escape with it, or did they let the animal escape with it on purpose, or whatever the fuck it is? Point being is,
didn't come from a bat. That was for sure. We got that part clear.
Did it come from what?
It didn't come from a bat.
A bat? What was that?
That was the original story. Was that it came from some bat from the wet markets out there in China.
In Wuhan.
Yeah, in Wuhan.
Even though the lab was still supposed to be in.
The lab was also in Wuhan, but they just dumped some bat or whatever, and they blamed the story on the fact that it was just some like random bat at this like wet market, and it's like, well, that's BS story. From weeks within the virus coming out, it was proven by scientists. Of course, it's like people say, trust the science. Most people who are anti-conspiracy theories hate science because you come at them with actual science and that doesn't make any sense.
So if they did, whoever they are, okay, I'm just speaking.
The Wuhan lab that Anthony Fauci helped fund, that's who it is.
Okay, so whatever was done intentionally with the COVID ordeal,
that's the part that we can only speculate on.
Right. What is that? It's speculation. So
correct.
But with that said, whatever it is that they intended to do, whatever they try to do, whether they accomplish it or not, do you think, coming from your side, do you think one of the parts that backfired is people ended up having too much time on their hands? They started doing a lot more research, following people like yourself, following other people who are influencers and exposing them, and then maybe got deeper into the bandwagon.
So here's what I truly believe, and these thought processes.
You did say that your fan base grew.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is where my thoughts. There's some people who are absolute. I don't know if you've ever heard of a black pill, that are absolute doomers, that don't believe that we're screwed, that nothing else is going to happen. I believe that there are good guys everywhere, and I believe that there is an absolute plan to save the republic. And I believe that part of that plan is considering that these evil cabal of globalists have spent the last 100 years on a plan to take over the world, but more importantly, to take over America, because America is the beacon of freedom for the entire world. There's a reason why when they're having protests in China for freedom, they wave American flags. We are the beacon of freedom. If you destroy America, you destroy the hope of the entire world. There's nowhere to run if you leave America. There's nowhere to migrate to. There's no other place. So by having a plan to attack the world, you also inadvertently and very strategically need to also have a plan to destroy America, right? So I'm of the belief that these people don't give a shit about us, and that the idea to unleash a global pandemic upon the world was something that was thought out for quite some time. In fact, there's proof of that. You can research that. I think it's called Event 101, if I'm not mistaken, which is 2 years prior to the pandemic. They had a...
What was it? And please correct me or wrong. Guys, don't fucking hold me up to this. I'm trying to... It's almost like if I'm Googling it and I want Google to tell me what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
What was the... What was that? I don't want to say it's an accusation. It might be accurate. But what was the concept of... There was some type of practice...
Yeah, that's what I'm talking.
Like it was a practice doomsday. Hey, what if we got hit with a virus that did this, and it was just basically a practice replica of what's really going on, but they have it documented. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's called yeah, here it is. So it is. I think it's called
I wasn't sure that's what you're talking about, but that's what came to mind.
Event 101. Event 201. Event 201 is what it's called. I think it's called Event 201. Go to my page. If it's wrong, just go to my page and curse me out, and then cool. I'll post the correct thing. But basically, it was a complete simulation.
That's what it was. That's the word I was looking for. Simulation.
How it was going to work with the press, and how the social media was going to respond, and how hospitals were going to respond, and how governments were going to respond across the world. And they did this 2 years in advance. So yeah, this was absolutely planned out, which goes back to my theory of where it is that we're at on this timeline that I believe we're in full control of. I believe that these people are evil, and that if they wanted to unleash a virus that was going to put the fear of God into us, that was going to make us wear a muzzle without fighting back, that was going to have us dropping dead in the street, they wouldn't have cared. They would have killed as many of us as it would have taken, because they really don't care. It's all about power for them. So to me, one of the biggest testaments is that there's some kind of opposition to these bad guys trying to take over is the virus, because it wasn't a drop dead, violent, purge blood out of your mouth. It's a flu. It's such a big deal that they've had to kind of fake numbers. Well, not kind of, a lot. Right. And lie and present things in a rather scary place than the reality of what it is. And I think that it would have been a lot easier for them to truly just unleash something that was truly scary, and they didn't do that. And I think that part of that is because there's some kind of control. There's good guys everywhere.
In other words, they don't have absolute power.
They don't have absolute power. I think that's where the silent war is going on right now. We are in a state of war right now.
And can we say that you play a great key role? You're one of these people who are trying to pass on. Come on, man. You have to. You don't got to pat yourself on the back. But if you know you're doing some of this shit and you know it affects your life. You know, it might affect you socially, it might affect you personally, it might, whatever the fuck it does. You know, you are all in on this shit.
Yeah.
He said, you're all in.
I know.
And there's a lot of people out there. I'm sure your following would have been way bigger had you not got chopped down so many times. There's a lot of people who follow people like you, and they want these Wonder Womans. They want these, what was homegirl's name from Terminator? Sarah what?
I can't remember.
Fuck, she was a bad bitch. Somebody put that in the comments. Sarah something. Anyhow, you're that, you're one of those modern day versions of it. And you have to take that consideration. Does the drive, is it always there? Like your whole goal is, man, I'm just going to keep informing people whether they like it or not. And I know I'm going to face a lot of fuck shit.
So we talked about this earlier today. I'm a follower and a believer of Jesus Christ, and I'm a woman of faith. And, he said, they hated me first, and Christ was here to speak the truth. And I have felt a divine calling to continue to speak truth from the minute that I started posting on my personal page. I started bullshit, like shit posting on my own page. and like red pilling my friends and being like, do you guys know blah, 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 blah? And then I started getting messages.
Just to ruffle their feathers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I felt like a responsibility, like, holy shit. Like I've been gathering.
I believe this, but I want to see what my girls think.
Well, no, you know what it was that I realized that information wasn't out there. So here's the thing. A lot of this stuff is censored online, right? So when I find information, it's not that I know everything about so many things. It's that because I've been reading about it for such a long time, when I go look, I'm not doing a general search on something. I know exactly what story, when it happened. Like, oh, I remember that one time in 2012 when this story broke, so I can go out there and search for it. And I'm more likely to get a bounce back than somebody doing a general search without knowing where to start. Like, how do I know that, elitists are all pedophiles or whatever it may be, right?
It makes total, I mean, you made that sound silly at the end, but it makes total sense. I get you. I hope everybody else does. Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly what to look for. And when I started posting, I actually started posting the day that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. And
I like how you said that.
Absolutely.
Love it.
And I started posting that. They're just like, do you guys know who this guy is? Do you realize how he's connected? Do you realize who he's connected to? Do you realize how it all comes together? And then my friends were like, okay, like, wow, like, how do you know this stuff, right? And then I remember I spent several months like red pilling, and people, there were some people that were all about it, were like, you're leading me, like, you've led me to truth. People that were telling me that it led them to God, like, it was just like, wow, like this is intense. So at the beginning, I was like, what am I doing? Like, I'm just like shit posting memes on the internet. And then I started realizing the response that I was getting from people.
The impact that you were having.
I had a friend tell me, you have to start a page. And I'm like, nobody's going to care about a page. Like, start a page. Nobody's going to care about the page. And then, within the first, I hadn't even been a full year before I had the page that it grew in through the 155,000
I hope you took that friend
followers.
out to dinner.
Oh, I love her. She's at Mabel. I love you to death.
Shout out
so
to Mabel.
Shout out to Mabel. Mabel La Boutique. The page ended up blowing up. And one thing that I consistently got were people like just thanking me. Like, the way that you led me to truth made my faith stronger. And I say that because it's, at the end of the day, and this is something that I strongly believe, forget politics. You and I slightly talked about this earlier on. I believe that we are fighting a spiritual war, and I believe that we are fighting forces of good and evil right now. So I did inadvertently, somehow, without asking for it and without ever thinking that I was prepared for it, end up in the front lines of a very defining moment, I think, in our history. And that's going to, be whether it's the fight that I'm doing on a local level or the information that I share to wake up the collective all over the world. I've got followers all over the world, which is so mind-blowing to me.
Right. Isn't it awesome?
That people care, like that people listen to what I have to say when they tell me, like, thank you, like, you woke me up. When I meet people and they tell me that, it's just...
Okay, so let's jump on that wagon right there. You intend to keep going. We know this.
Oh, it's never stopping. This is like
got nothing to do with the fact that you're Latina from Miami.
Might have everything to do with the fact that I'm Latina from Miami.
But you're back in this local thing. So let's talk about that a little bit more. What are your intentions? You say you want to run for something? What is the push? Where might you? What is it that you can do based upon what you're aiming for?
So here's that, similar how you just said, I ended up in the front lines of this without ever actually. I don't want to run for politics. I don't want to be under the scrutiny.
Guys, I think she's going to double back on that.
No, but here's
save it for the next podcast.
Here's the reality. I don't want to.
Your kind will, bro.
However, I am looking around and I keep on thinking, is somebody going to step up and do something, right? Is somebody going to do something different?
Am I going to have to beat that bitch?
That's, you know what? That's exactly what it is. So, and it's like, well, I guess if nobody else is going to do it, then I guess that it's gonna have to be me,
Pass me my chancletas. Pass me my chancletas. I'm done with this shit. Can you
imagine me in Congress with a chancleta? Like, let me tell you guys right now.
You become a fucking national hit. The same way DeSantis, gangsta ass, has become such a national hit. Here comes Isabela, and she's on the microphone with a chancleta in hand. Today is chancleta day.
Let me tell you.
Because we are not going to put up with this shit.
I came here to school AOC in Ilhan Omar with my chancletas. Y'all ain't ready.
But no, but on some real shit.
No, it's
how can people support you on that? What can people do? What is it you think you're gonna do, and how can they help you out?
So one of the things that I'm currently working on is I'm working with the APC Foundation online. APC Foundation, the American People's Community.
Okay.
And basically what we're trying to do is share resources with individuals on how to get involved in the civic process again. You know, a lot of us take civics in the 8th grade and then that's it. We don't really understand exactly the inner workings of government or how to get involved, or more importantly, how to hold elected officials accountable. So, you know, the purpose of the organization is really to give people the resources that they need to get involved in the civic process again. And we're starting with Miami, but we're very soon going to have influencers all over the country that are pushing the same kind of campaigns. And it's just, you know, staying in your politician's face, whether you elected them or not, if they're a Democrat, if they're a Republican. This is bipartisan. This is not a party. This is not divided by party lines. This is truly about holding elected officials accountable because they don't respond to school unions, they don't respond to lobbyists or special interests or donors to their campaigns. Our Constitution was written so that these individuals responded to we the people, and unfortunately, we're not in a place where that's happening, and the only way that we're going to fix that is if we get involved.
What's going on, beautiful world? Thank you once again for tuning in. I just wanted to cut in really quick and tell you guys, man, I really appreciate all the love and support. This is season 3. We're several podcasts in. We got so many more coming. There's a lot of things that's coming that's brand new, from the Go Ahead and Ask vlog series to a bunch of merchandise and to even a new podcast series that's coming out in the future. Look out for it in the summer. But for now, guys, we couldn't have even made it this far if it wasn't for all of you guys. Thank you for the love and support. Appreciate it. Let's get back to the podcast. So, Isa, how can people help you minus following you? What is it that somebody can do because like, yo, I like this chick. This chick's for real. Like I'm about that. Like what is she doing? I want to jump in. Do they have to stand by? Just follow you and then wait for the updates?
Do not stand by. What I want everyone who listens to this to do would be to go out there and find out who your local politicians are. Find out who your mayor is. Find out who's sitting on your local school board. Find out who your commissioners are. These are the individuals that are making the decisions that affect your day-to-day life.
And then go deeper, like find out more.
And some people are going to be made for that and some are not. I mean, I think that even the small step of finding your local elected politicians online and following them on social media, just so that you could keep tabs on what they're working on. What is your money going towards? Is it something that you agree with or something that you disagree with? Do you see trends in these politician pages that kind of like rub you the wrong way? Like I found one of the members of our school board, drives a Maserati and has like a nice collection of watches that from the math that I've done probably equals out to about $700,000. And I'm just very curious to understand how a member of the Miami-Dade County School Board can affect such a luxurious lifestyle.
You're not wrong for that. So piggybacking that, do you think? I know we believe this. I know this. This is something that I think we might have said it like 10 times off camera. Are we at that point where one of the biggest things that you want to tell people is question everything without being fanatical, without fucking blowing your brains out, but just make sure that it makes sense.
Yeah,
don't just blow it off.
That you can't blow off anything. I would strongly encourage people not to write anything off. Don't call anybody crazy. We're living in really crazy times.
And don't trust what anybody tells you neither.
Don't trust what anybody tells you. Don't trust what I tell you. The only thing that, any word of advice that I would leave and close the podcast on, it's like, don't trust anything or anybody other than your own research and your own intuition. And to tap into intuition, right?
Okay.
It's a really important part. You need to be able to tap into your own moral compass and the things that feel right and the things that don't. We're transcending into a new earth, if you will, that's going to require a version of ourselves that's more tapped into our intuition and a higher internal calling, I think, as opposed to having to search for confirmation of our beliefs through external sources.
How does one, without going, whatever, maybe you do go yoga-ish with it, but how do you tell somebody, and right now, to anybody who's listening or watching, build your intuition. But build that belief in when you feel something gutly, when something fucking because there's people who would also tell you no, because that could be fear. No, because if you're not built like that, that's not intuition. That's tu te cagaste, you know. I mean, I think you would respect that. You know, you're a real one. You're a real one. So how would you tell somebody? How would you school them into like, well, Issa,
Learning.
how do I build my intuition? Because I thought I had intuition, and then I don't,
So, one of the highest emotional vibrations that we can feel as human beings is love, and that sounds intense. But I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about falling in love. I'm talking about a sense of love. Think about the way that you love your mom. That kind of like internal peace of love, where you're not when you first meet somebody and you're super into them and you're like, oh my god, is this person gonna give me a call back? And oh my god, we're having such a good time. That's not what I mean at all. I mean the sense of peace that comes with a solidified love, like you would almost for your mother or your kid, right? That sense of peace and that knowingness. And use a feeling like that, something that you intuitively know to be 100% true, right? You might not know if the government is running a secret society to bring down the masses, but you do know that your mom loves you, or you do know
That's a great way of saying
or you
that.
do know that you love your kids.
Right.
And when you're able to tap into what that feeling truly feels like, what that peaceful sense of love feels like, I think that tapping into your intuition is really a matter of tapping into that kind of like peaceful sense with the thoughts that you come to. And here's the thing, that doesn't happen just because you think happy thoughts. That happens through extensive research, where when you've gone down every possible rabbit hole and you looked at every possible outcome, if you sit with that information for a while, some of it is going to feel like it aligns with a particular truth. And I think that unfortunately or fortunately, we're living in times where that's the only thing that we're going to be able to depend on. And,
Valid. What? Basically looking up information.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to look up all information, but a lot of information is going to be incorrect because you can't trust anybody. You can't trust anything. So at some point, you're going to have to use discernment, your own discernment, linked with your intuition to be able to know. Intuition is not feelings. Intuition is not thought. Intuition is something different. Intuition is being able to tap into the frequency of truth within yourself.
We just blew a couple of brains.
This is like a whole nother podcast.
Somebody just said, "Oh my god, what did she just say?" Wait a minute.
That's a deep conversation.
I was there, but then it went there. I'm with you.
Listen, the spiritual warfare can be a completely different topic. And like tapping into like, the different.
But you know what about that? But
some other stuff, dimensional.
I think what you just said. People can laugh at it, but I think what you just said is very comparable to a monk who would tell you, "Hey, I promise you, just fucking sit there with your mouth closed
within yourself.
Just picture nothingness until your butthole stops hurting while you sit on that rock." And sooner or later, you're gonna start floating. If you put enough effort into it, you're gonna find out things that other people don't. And I think what it comes down to is, if you put in the work, the research, and you start seeing, that's not a rabbit hole. It's just put in the work, because we all know that there's no euphoria. No one's in a false world if we're not being lied to. We get lied to from our first job at 15, wherever the fuck that was, and you saw that there was some type of weird hierarchy with the shift manager and the whatever manager. There's always some type of weird, I don't know, not corruption, but just whoever's
the battle for power.
Yeah,
people want to be powerful. People want to be rich.
Everybody's down to sleep to move up. Everybody's down to do something. And this happens on so many levels, on every managerial, political, ownership of any business. It happens on so many levels, and nothing changes that as high up as you go to the government, to the planet, to everything.
It's just not.
But you got to do your research.
It's not outlandish, and stop calling people crazy. Like anything that seems. If I said anything today that made you uncomfortable or made you question your reality, good. That's the point.
Well
I'm a digital thought provoker. My job is to make you.
Damn, she circled
your
back from the
reality.
fucking beginning of the podcast.
That is my job in this my job in this lifetime, in this existence, is to make you question your reality so that you do end up finding your way. And I got.
When did that become official? When did you really? Because I love that you said that. You really do accept that, almost on some Batman shit. Like, fuck it, dude. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm looking at myself as I'm through this digital world. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers and make you motherfuckers look shit up.
Yeah, the response, I just started shit posting, and the response that I got from people, I'm like, holy shit, like, people need this. People need this information, and I got a lot of gratitude from people. They were so grateful for the stuff that I was posting.
And it was unexpected.
It was unexpected because I didn't do it for that. I was anonymous. I didn't even show my face. Nobody knew who I was. It was just, I just knew all this information. I was like, screw it, I'm going to put it out there, and maybe someone cares. But I wasn't expecting it. But, as the response grew, and I still get it, I'm very grateful for that.
That's awesome.
I feel a sense of divine purpose, if you will, and civil responsibility to the community and to my fellow men, to go out there and spread this knowledge that I would have otherwise thought was useless and pointless, and that has now proven to be extremely valuable to the times that we're living in.
So check this out. Right on that, right on cue. I'm going to do something that I typically don't do unless it's kind of like well-deserved and maybe not too pressure-like. Yours is pressure-like, so I apologize. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to challenge you. So when we took a break, you guys obviously didn't see it based upon if you're watching it on YouTube or if you're listening, you wouldn't have caught it, live. But when we took a break, I had to change the batteries on the camera, get this thing rolling again. And I told Isabella that, hey, I know once we're done and I know we're closing out, and I don't want to forget this, because we had a couple of drinks and a little smoke or two. And I know that she has to go about her business, as do I. I said, I don't want to forget about this, so I want to tell you this now because I really mean this. And I told her, you need to fucking start your own shit. Not a podcast. I told her more like a vlog, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if it's blog or vlog. I think it's vlog with the V, not the B version. Regardless, you have so much information in you. I mean, just fucking levels. I mean, tiers to the levels and then underground tunnels to the tiers that are beneath the levels. Like, this is real shit. This is real shit. And you have an amazing following. Your following doesn't show right now on Instagram, but you have an amazing following. You keep bouncing back. I would think right now, had you never got interrupted, have you never got banned or anything like that, I think you easily would have been at 250 right about now.
Oh no, I think it would have been if I was on a regular algorithm. I wouldn't be surprised if I mean, I don't take credit for that alone. Myself, along with other Truther accounts, would have had over 1 million followers without a problem.
Well, there you go. So
some of the content.
I know that
if we were allowed to post as we would want to.
It's an ongoing battle,
right?
And I was suggesting the whole YouTube thing, and we talked about YouTube, and you also have your hands tied behind your back. You do have to abide by the rules. I don't wear a mask for shit. I don't believe in the mask. Fuck all this, that, whatever. But if your business requires that I wear a mask, that's your business, as in your entity, your business.
You can choose to not.
No, but I'm saying I'm going to respect that, and I'm going to wear my mask because I want to be inside of your business. So I'm respectful about that. Otherwise, if you're not forcing me and you don't have the right to force me and whatever. So, I guess what I'm saying is, going through YouTube rules and whatever other rules that anybody imposes on you, I really would love for you, and I want to challenge you in front of everybody, and I hope your fans watch this, and I hope my fans watch it, and future new fans watch this. You need to do your own fucking thing. You need to sit in a goddamn comfortable ass love seat or whatever makes you more comfortable. Put that camera in front of you, and you need to tell the world little by little the amount of shit you know. Because unfortunately, nobody wants to sit down that long. I am so happy if everybody has made it this far. If you watch this in bits and pieces, thank you so much. But the attention span is crazy out there. There's just too many.
You got to be able to provide people little tidbits. I guess that I will absolutely take that into consideration. I just sometimes
please.
I don't think that that many people want to listen, but I guess they do.
Well, guys, help me convince her. Please leave the comments, okay? Just do so and tell her. Put a fucking camera in front of you. get a little bit of lighting, and tee off. I don't care if you're in your what's it called, a cat woman, the cat lady. I don't care if you're in I don't care if you're in your cat lady PJs. You're a dog lady. Right. Yeah, I've never had somebody have so much control over my dogs when she got here, man. Like they sense her energy. She definitely knew what she was doing. But yeah, I say that because, man, I love that you got so much information in you. You say, and I really do, you know. And
I got more bombs for you when you're ready to have me back.
You got way more, and I know you're gonna come back for sure, without a doubt. I want a part 2, part 3 about this because there's always more shit coming to the light, and we can do it on the fly. We can do it based on whatever. There's just a lot more to go, but that's why I want you to definitely do your own thing, because I know your fans and new fans that are going to come off of this are going to want to hear little bits and pieces, you know? And sometimes they don't want to sit down the whole time, but they want to hear little bits and pieces for sure. So anyhow, how can people follow you on all your social platforms? I'm not sure how many you have. I only follow you on Instagram.
I am on Instagram at redpillbabe1776. And you can follow the foundation that I'm currently working with locally at APC Foundation. I'm also on Telegram, but you can find my Telegram through my Instagram link on bio. It'll take you straight to my Telegram chat where I post some of my more controversial stuff that would normally get me, nuked off the major social platforms.
Nuked.
But thanks so much for having me on today.
No, thank you for coming. Is there any specific thing coming up where people can come meet and greet or help you out in a certain
we have
event?
A monthly APC Foundation meeting that takes place. Our next meeting will be next month on the 17th of June. The location is going to be the Renaissance on 32nd Avenue and 24th Street, I want to say, a couple blocks off Coral Way. But we will, if you follow APC Foundation, you'll see the details on there, and that'll be our next meeting. But we've got events, we've got things that we've got planned. We've got 2 legislators that are going to be out there at our next meeting that are going to be answering questions and whatnot. But, get involved in the community and, come join me. I'm out here at these things.
And by the way, you mentioned her earlier, and I haven't spoken about her in a while. Big shout out to Linda from Wake Up with Linda.
That's my sister, life, and that's my revolution.
That's awesome.
My revolution sister for life. We're really trying to save Miami together,
that's
and
awesome.
Use the collective power that we have, and really use our platforms for the better good, and expose corruption in Miami and give the power back to the people.
She was one of our best podcasts. A lot of great feedback from that podcast, and you're just like her. Is why you guys are best friends. And I know I saw the beginning phases of that friendship building. I remember when you guys, I think, met for the second time when we were at Caballo's comedy.
At the comedy show, yeah.
No offense, you guys wouldn't shut up.
You couldn't even hear us. I couldn't.
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, that's true,
the
bro.
music was loud. We couldn't even hear us. We were like whispering in each other's ears.
Yeah. Ask Marcos what I felt about that, but no, I love that. I got to see that bloom, and now you guys are doing what you're doing. So, and then listen, for anybody listening,
Latinas are gonna save America, and Linda and I are starting the movement.
I love it, man. Linda's made big moves, man. Big moves right in front of the fucking Capitol. Just everything. That girl's involved, man. It's big shout out to her. She's and then obviously to you as well. Coincidentally, I told you way in the beginning before we started the podcast, man, I was telling a few people, not a few, about 4 or 5 random people that I trained and then people that I hung out with for a couple beers. And they were like, yeah, I follow her. And I was like, no, this can't be that coincidental. I was like, you sure, dog? Yeah, man, she got El Caballo, everything was always connected. And I was like, yeah, man, that's what's up. Yeah, I'm going to do an awesome podcast, and I'm looking forward to it.
I love all of my following, clearly. I love everybody that supports me. I've got a great following, but, man, my Miami peeps know what's up. They know that I'm like a regular Miami girl. I'm not an import down here. I've been born and raised in 305, born and raised in Little Havana, hood as hell. Like, that's my life. I'm from here, so, I give a shit what happens in our community. And if, you mentioned earlier, just kind of looking around, if nobody else is going to stand up, then I'm here to give people a really hard time and, have some fun while I'm doing it and get as many people as I can involved.
So I want to make clear for all the right reasons, man. There's a whole lot of everything that I believe about what you said, everything that you said today in today's podcast, and I love that you have, and we vibe on so much. I don't know what I don't vibe with. I'm not religiously connected. That's probably the only thing. I don't think we got off any. Maybe off camera we did, and then we talked about something, but not on camera. I damn near agree with everything. And but everybody watching, if you don't, hey man, feel free to chime in.
That's
cool. Comment. Send a question. You don't got to be a dickhead, but if you want, go ahead. Trust me, my girl, homegirl's gonna be a bitch. She's gonna be like sick 'em. But really, let's exchange information.
Let's open up conversation
exactly.
again. We've been trained to think that having conversations.
Yeah, nothing wrong with an exchange.
Don't talk politics. Don't talk religions. Bullshit. Talk about everything. That's important. Go out there. Talk to your people that agree with you, people that oppose you. Like go out there and just have conversations with people.
So I hope you guys follow her because she's got so much dope ass shit that she puts. She really takes away the legwork for a bunch of us. I was about to say you,
and
lazy motherfuckers.
I post a lot of dog videos.
I mean,
so
she's such a dog lover. I love it. So you guys gotta follow her, please. Don't forget, man. Red Pill Babe, spelled just like that for you, literally motherfuckers. REDPILLBABE 1776. Make sure you go follow her. Stay in tune. Guys, I know it took a couple weeks before I put out this podcast. Just been really busy with the Go Ahead and Ask vlog series. Make sure you tune into that as well. It greatly coincides with what, she came in. Like I said, she's got to see the shout out that I gave her on that. A lot of things coming up. Miami, I appreciate all the support and love. Everybody who's been following us and supporting us, subscribers, both her fans and ours. Show the love back and forth. Appreciate everybody on this. Don't be dumbed down, man. Do your research or let us do it for you and just follow our lead.
Expand your mind. Expand your mind.
Guys, appreciate all the love and support. Hope everybody has a great evening. Take care of yourself. See you guys on the next one. Peace.